Good morning and welcome to the hybrid hearing on transportation. Will council members and staff please place all electronic devices on violent or silent? Testimony can be submitted to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that's testimony@council.nyc.gov. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Hello, and welcome to this hearing on the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. My name is Sylvina Brooks Powers, and I am the chair of this committee. During today's hearing, we will conduct oversight on the administration's plans for managing the city's public space. We will also be hearing three important pieces of legislation: Intro 258, sponsored by Councilmember Rita Joseph; Intro 291, sponsored by Councilmember Carlina Rivera and myself; and Intro 293, sponsored by Councilmember Althea Stevens. Thriving public spaces are critical to the future of our city. New Yorkers have always valued the vibrancy of our streetscapes and parks. But the COVID-19 pandemic in particular has prompted us to rethink how we use these open spaces. In many areas of the city, what were once spaces reserved only for traffic became vibrant places that gave communities safe ground to eat, exercise, and interact with their neighbors. As we've emerged from the worst days of COVID-19, we've now seen the importance of not just creating places for people, but also maintaining them. Resilient public spaces are key to building safe and healthy communities, providing opportunities for art and culture, and supporting the growth of our local businesses. In my short time as committee chair thus far, I've sought to make equity central to all of our transportation and infrastructure discussions. Today will be no different. We can't help but notice that some neighborhoods seem filled with public space amenities, things like landscaping, seating, bike racks, and plazas, to name a few. And in other neighborhoods, these most basic facilities are missing. And where these core public resources do exist, they are often plagued by poor maintenance and other quality of life issues. One reason advocates argue this may be the case is that over the last few decades, our city has increasingly relied on private organizations like business improvement districts to deliver and maintain these decidedly public resources. Of course, community organizations can provide wonderful public services that are responsive to the specific needs of their neighborhoods. But the implication of this system are obvious when only 2% of the city is covered by a bid. And when we think about the vast disparity in resources among community organizations across the city. While city agencies have sometimes argued that this arrangement does not impact the delivery of or the distribution of infrastructure resources, it's clear that this situation has benefited some communities more than others. The Council has recently sought to address this issue, including through requirements that the city provide resources more equitably to operate open streets in underserved areas. But it's up to this committee to ensure that efforts like this are undertaken and to push the administration to continue building systems that prioritize equity, accessibility, and inclusion. Managing public space is one of the core functions of a city. And it's time that we think holistically about how our many city agencies are coordinating responsibilities for this significant task. New Yorkers deserve to know which agencies and institutions are responsible for delivering and maintaining public amenities so that they can hold us public servants accountable. Today's hearing is about the task of holding our city agencies accountable for planning and maintaining our streets, sidewalks, plaza, and parks. I hope to hear from the administration regarding their plans for programs like open streets, and about the lessons they've learned from the dramatic expansion of public space uses and programs over the last 2 years. I'm extremely proud of the work that our agencies have done to deliver these innovative responses to the pandemic, and I want to make sure that we build on these successes and learn from any failures. Perhaps more importantly, I want to use this opportunity to ensure that equity is central to the way we think about the public realm moving forward. Finally, I'm excited to hear from advocates who have tirelessly worked to improve our public space policy, and to hear from my colleagues about the 3 pieces of legislation on the docket today, related to the use of public space by community organizations, the installation of public bathrooms, and creating a comprehensive greenway network to connect our communities. Before we move on to the administration and the public, I will now give the bill sponsors an opportunity to give a brief statement on their bills. First up, we will hear from Councilmember Althea Stevens.
Good afternoon. Local Law 293 to amend the Administrative Code of New York City in regulations to require the Department of Transportation to establish a program to allow community center schools and art and cultural institutions and religious institutions to use adjacent outdoor space. As you know, the Bronx has not benefited as much as other boroughs in terms of greenways, bikes, parks, and outdoor space. It is vital for the Bronx that there is equitable access to outdoor space. Being able to utilize community space will work to strengthen the relationship of our communities by allowing the opportunity for individuals to experience each other's culture. The first steps in creating a strong community is understanding and properly educating each other as we come from where we come from, what kinds of traditions we practice, and most importantly, we are passionate about. This legislation will ensure that young people across the city have access to space to play, learn, grow, and community institutions will be able to step outside to connect with the community and take advantage of the underutilized space. I often say that our strength is our unity, and utilizing all space in our neighborhoods to build community is key and vital to the success of building unity. Thank you, and I'm very excited that my bill is being heard today.
Thank you for those remarks. Next, we will hear from Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine.
It is good to be back. Thank you so much, Chair Brooks Powers, for the opportunity to testify. Thank you for holding this hearing on the important topic of public space. I'm here to speak in support of Intro 258. The lead sponsor is Councilmember Rita Joseph. This is a bill which addresses a persistent public policy failure in New York City. Our failure to provide an adequate number of public bathrooms for the people of this city. If you are a New Yorker, you have experienced this, being out and about on the street, needing to go, and being unable to find a functioning and open public bathroom. It's happened to all of us. This is a matter of public health, it's a matter of equity, it's a matter of dignity, and it impacts everybody, whether you are a parent with young children, whether you are pregnant or menstruating, whether you are an older New Yorker or someone with a unique medical condition that impacts this, whether you are a street vendor or a delivery worker or a tourist, it impacts all of us. And there's no greater symbol of the failure of the city to address this crisis than the fact that there are currently 15 fully functional, ready to install automated bathrooms sitting in a warehouse for Queens where they have languished for years. So this bill seeks to fix this problem. This is a bill, Intro 258, that will require the Department of Transportation, together with the Parks Department, to give us a plan for installation of at least one publicly accessible bathroom in every zip code in this city. The plan names community boards as partners in this effort because we understand that every community needs a different solution. There are some boards that might prefer to have a unit on the roadway or on the sidewalk, some who might want to focus on a new comfort station in a park. We can look at publicly owned private spaces as well as another venue for adding these facilities. There are many ways to do this, but it must be done. And that's why a very broad coalition has come together to once and for all change the narrative on access to public bathrooms in New York City. Finally, I just want to push back on one common criticism of this policy, which is that it, quote, facilitates homeless people. I want to strongly and strenuously disagree. I believe that this is a basic amenity that all of us need, including New Yorkers who are experiencing homelessness, that this is better for the individuals who themselves are experiencing homelessness and better for communities. This really should be universally embraced, and it's why I'm thrilled you've brought it to a hearing today, Madam Chair, and I appreciate this opportunity to testify on behalf of Intro 258. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I get to have remarks from you and my other former colleagues shortly, the Commissioner of DOT, which is great. So thank you so much for that. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Rita Joseph.
Hi, thank you so much, Chair. This bill is very important to us. As we mentioned so many times, we rank 93 out of 100 places around the country that have access to public bathrooms. So this bill is important. We ask that you pass this bill for us to get us to the first step, to just examine where and feasible that this report that we can build accessible bathrooms in all 5 boroughs. So thank you so much for listening to this bill here. Thank you, Mark, for being a champion of this, and thank you for being a great partner. And I look forward to voting yes on this bill.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. And next, we will hear from Councilmember Carlina Rivera.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak on my bill very briefly. New York's first greenway was created over 100 years ago, and the city last issued a greenway plan in 1993. 30 years later, the majority of New York's 100 miles of greenways only exist on paper. The Greenway Master Plan Bill, Intro 291, is primarily focused on a comprehensive master plan, a vision for the future of greenways in all 5 boroughs. For far too long, investment in green infrastructure has been reserved for only the wealthiest neighborhoods. Historically, low-income communities of color have seen the least investment in greenway infrastructure. This bill seeks to disrupt that pattern and ensure that every neighborhood is involved in the development of a master plan. The most critical part of this legislation is the requirement that we build a citywide greenway plan from the ground up with robust community engagement. The bill also requires communication and planning among city, state, and federal agencies that have overlapping areas of jurisdiction on greenways. Along with Councilmember Brooks Powers, I look forward to working closely with the mayor and all involved city agencies, and of course the advocates, on their feedback on Intro 291 so that together, along with this goal of more equitable public space that's accessible to all, is so important so that we can deliver New Yorkers a greenway master plan and a city for future generations that leaves no neighborhood behind. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Councilmember. Next, we are going to do things a little bit differently in this hearing. We are going to take 2 testimonies from the public. First, we will hear from Jackson Chabot with Open Plans. And I'll just call, in the interest of time, John Orchid from Bike New York also.
Should I wait for John?
Yeah, John. Mm-hmm. And we just ask that, we respect the time because the administration does have a tight window. We want to make sure we have them here for as long as we can.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair, and hello, council members. You took the words right out of my mouth, Chair. So with that, Good afternoon. My name is Jackson Chabot, and I'm the Director of Public Space Advocacy at Open Plans, an over 20-year-old nonprofit dedicated to safe and livable streets. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. First, I would like to voice Open Plans' full support for Intro 258, 291, and 293, as well as speak today on managing the city's public space. Streets and sidewalks are much more than places for drivers to park and drive. They are public spaces where life happens, where neighbors meet, children play, commerce occurs, and people pass the time. By creating an Office of Public Space Management, the city can oversee the equitable day-to-day operations of our streets, prioritizing care and activation. However, right now, 27% of New York City is streets, and 75% of that space is allocated towards the movement and storage of vehicles, when most New Yorkers don't own or use a vehicle. This distribution and use of space is not equitable nor proportional. Far too much of our city is asthma-inducing, traffic jammed, and dangerous to walk and bike. Most concerning is our epidemic-level rates of traffic violence. People are dying as a consequence of our continued car-dominant culture. We know public space with no vehicles is the safest space in the city. An Office of Public Space Management to manage car-free space would enable the city to scale and create a network of open streets and plazas. In 2020, the city went into lockdown and launched the Open Streets and Open Restaurants programs. Many people suddenly appreciated, some for the first time, the vast potential swaths of public space that is right before our eyes and often right in front of our homes and apartments. In some areas, volunteers created systems to make their open streets a colossal success, some with hundreds of volunteers and a robust schedule of community activities. But this model continues to rely on extensive volunteer labor and organizing. Communities are responsible to manage barricades, program activities, develop relationship with businesses, and clean the street. We are encouraged by the Department of Transportation's public space unit's unwavering commitment to iterating and expanding the program, as shown by their collaboration this year with Street Lab, the recently released public space programming catalog, and providing funding. Equally, community partners are exhausted, burnt out, and carrying the lion's share of responsibility to plan and execute events, manage open streets and plazas, and keep people safe from traffic violence while doing so. We need a framework that supports and empowers volunteers while fundamentally, equitably providing the care, maintenance, and management of our streets and sidewalks. As I wrote in Gotham Gazette op-ed yesterday, every open street, block party, or neighborhood safety initiative is the product of intense volunteer effort, organization, and coordination. Too often, city agencies and departments are working in isolation instead of focusing on collaborative problem solving. We need an Office of Public Space Management. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm going to address primarily Intro 291, the Greenway Master Plan bill, which Bike New York, my organization, wholeheartedly supports, and I'm joined later today by many, many members of the New York City Greenway Coalition who are equally behind the legislation. We've had a Greenway plan, as Councilmember Rivera mentioned, on paper since 1993. That plan was created by the City Planning Department during the last year of the Dinkins administration. City planning doesn't build or maintain things, and I think that having that plan there was kind of a misplaced effort. The Greenway Master Plan bill before you would move responsibility for the citywide plan and to the agencies that actually build and maintain the greenways, City DOT, Parks Department, EDC, and perhaps some others. We have other types of rights of way in the city. We have the Hudson River Park and the trust that manages it, and other state rights of way that may be key to the Greenway network ultimately. Greenways are the best used, the most popular of the bikeways and corridor parks in the city. Regional Plan Association recently did a public opinion poll just last month, and they asked New Yorkers what they thought about a bunch of streetscape changes, and there was a good majority for the kinds of things that the city does, like bike lanes, busways, et cetera. But greenways were the most popular. Over 80% of New Yorkers responding thought that fully protected, fully separated bike and pedestrian multi-use paths with green space were the things they liked most about re-envisioning and thinking about new forms of streetscape in the urban areas. So that notwithstanding, the work to build additional segments and connect them and to keep them in good shape has been really slow and very halting and incredibly uneven across the city. I think it's very true in any complex undertaking that you cannot manage what you don't measure. And today, we don't measure progress toward a citywide greenway network. Today, we don't measure equity of access to green space and waterfronts and a greenway network among our people. I would direct you to some of the work recently done by Trust for Public Land on access to green space and measuring some of the key metrics like, can you get to a park within 10 minutes from different pieces of the city? They've done some really important work and looked at open streets in that regard. We don't measure what kind of usage we're getting on our greenways. We don't have bike counters on most of them. We don't measure what are the key networks that will allow greatest usage to proceed and prioritize our greenway projects on that. As I said, progress has been very uneven. Some of it's squeaky wheel. Some places have gotten well organized. Brooklyn Waterfront, Hunts Point, Bronx River Corridor, and seen good progress. We had the very slow motion, downsizing of the West Side Highway that resulted ultimately in the Hudson River Park. Those things have all been kind of odd one-offs, and we need steady progress and a steady program, a Greenway Master Plan that needs to be regularly updated by the implementing and maintaining agencies. Will get that done. We think the bill is excellent in its current form. We think there are a few improvements that could be made. One of them is in the definition of greenways, which today in the bill says recreation. Many people use these for transportation. And we would also call attention to the inconsistent policies practiced by City DOT and Parks Department regarding electric assist bicycles and possibly in the future, other small electric vehicles. It's not fair to New Yorkers to say you need to understand whose jurisdiction you're under when you pass from Hudson River Park Trust into the Parks Department part of the West Side Greenway.
I hate to cut you
No,
off. I
that's
was trying to
okay.
let
That's
you
my last
go.
point.
But
So we would like you to take a look at the definition of greenways in the bill. And we have some other things that we'll submit in testimony. Thank you very much.
thank you so much. I'm going to now turn it over to our committee counsel, Elliot Lynn.
Thank you. We will now turn to testimony from the administration. First, from the Department of Transportation, Commissioner Idanis Rodriguez, Assistant Commissioner for Street Improvement, Sean Quinn, Assistant Commissioner for Grants and Fiscal Management, Yogesh Sanghavi, and Director of Legislative Affairs, Ben Smith. From the Department of Parks and Recreation, the Chief of Policy and Long Range Planning, Sarah Nielsen, and from the New York City Economic Development Corporation, Adam Meager, Senior Vice President of Neighborhood Strategies. I will now administer the oath. Please raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before these committees, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when ready.
It's so great to be here. It's like looking at the colleague that we served together before, look at the new one, listening to this topic, all build a good bill, thing that I advocated before. There's things that we've been able to do in the last couple of 5 months. I work with Back New York and Back Siva, and since the time of a coach, Back New York couldn't get additional hour for the back tour. And working together, we were able to persuade this administration. So I'm all about, as the Mayor Adams say, getting things done. So thank you, for the great work that now on your responsibility, being the leaders in this legislative body that I had the honor to serve for 12 years. We are in the same boat. We have to work together. Everything that we do in this cause should be seen from the lens of equity. And when we take this New York City as a city where the only thing that we got to do with the Greenway is to bring to the working class community what we have done in the upper class community and in the middle class community. We know how to do it. It's about the goodwill, and this is what this administration is all about. So good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers and members of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Annie Danis Rodriguez, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Transportation. With me today are C.N. Quinn, Assistant Commissioner for Street Improvements Program, Joshua Shangri, Associate Commissioner for Grant and Fiscal Management, and Ben Smith, Director of Legislative Affairs. And in our first in-person hearing in the room, I have here also all my DOT Board of Commissioners, so that if any council member has any issue beside the question related to those bills, I want to be sure that following the mandate for Mayor Eric Adams, the 51 council members, they should know that in each borough, there's a commissioner that is there to hear from your need. They are here in this room, and they will be sure again that after the hearing is over that you can connect, even though all of you know from Staten Island to Brooklyn to Queens to the Bronx and Manhattan, that no agency had better commissioners in each borough as we have at DOT, and they've been working 24/7 to be sure that they listen to your need. We are happy to be here with our partners agency, the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of Mayor Eric Adams on managing the city's public space and on Introduction 251, 291, and 293. All New Yorkers, all, must have access to safe, welcoming, and attractive public spaces close to where they live, and every New Yorker must have access to active transportation option. That's a human right. We also need to be sure that all of them are connected to parkland and the city's 520-mile or short line. Open green space should not be a luxury. Being able to walk, jog, or bike to nearby parks and other neighborhoods is a necessity and a public good. In the pandemic, many New Yorkers took up biking for the first time, leading to a historic bike boom. COVID-19 also underscored the value of open space, parks, and biking and walking networks as more people look for opportunity to outdoor recreation and active transportation. But for too long, some of our communities, particularly the Black, Latino, and Asian, and working class community in general, have been cut off from green spaces and paths for biking and walking. Under Mayor Eric Adams' leadership, DOT and our sister agency are committed to creating a greener, more connected, and more reliable city for all New Yorkers. I fought for that in my previous 4 years as a council member members of the Committee on Transportation, and 8 years of those as a chairman of this committee. And I wouldn't stop advocating for my role that I have now leading the DOT department. On public space, early this year, DOT launched the 2022 Open Streets Program, through which New Yorkers will be able to enjoy more vibrant public space at over 150 locations, 21 new, covering a total of approximately 300 blocks. The program prioritizes equity with a focus on priority investment areas identified in the New York City Streets Plan. We will announce additional locations this summer and encourage council members to please to connect us with community organizations that are interested in becoming public spaces partners, including smaller classrooms groups which may be eligible for financial operation support. I instructed my team to spend weeks contacting each council member office to be sure that you help us to identify other locations where we can create more open streets. The executive budget includes funds that will allow us to advance permanent resident redesigns of popular open streets, including $88 million to further transform 34th Avenue in Queens. New York City Open Streets Program, the largest one in the United States of America, first launched in May 2020 as a way to give New Yorkers space to social distance and safely get outside. And they became a source of inspiration and community, a role model to the whole nation. As we recover and emerge, we are working to build them into sustainable community amenities with city resources and community support. Based on lessons learned over the past 5+ years of our One New York City Plaza Equity Program and our recent Open Streets collaboration with City Cleanup Corps, we are restructuring our program to be more supportive of a wide variety of public spaces and partners across the city. To support new, vibrant public space in areas that wouldn't have had it otherwise, DOT will receive $5.4 million in funding FY23 and beyond for a public space equity program on top of existing baseline open street and plaza equity funding, bringing our total annual funding to over $8 million. Thank you, Chair, and the Speaker and all council members for also working with the administration to add this additional funding. This comprehensive approach of public space support and management include partner reimbursements and contract for maintenance, landscaping, and technical assistance for public space partner organizations in greatest need. This will allow us to continue providing direct support to over 20 open streets, over 30 plazas, and more in the future. Turning to Intro 293, the Open Space Bill sponsored by Councilmember Stevens, this administration supports the spirit of this bill and is committed to using new ways to transform a street into vibrant public space. This includes building upon the Open Street and Open Restaurants programs, while also learning from the Open Cultural, Open Storefront, and Outdoor Learning programs. This program began a response to the pandemic, and as we are transitioning to programs that will continue beyond the crisis, we have found that more oversight is necessary to ensure that many demands for street space are balanced. In addition, schools and community-based organizations are able to apply for an open street, which is either a street with limited local access or a full closure. We don't have the red tape that we have in the past, that there were so many requirements to apply to get a permit when any CVOs or members of the community wanted to close a block. Right now, we want more application to come to DOT, and we are ready to expedite the process so that we can give back to the community those spaces that are so important for them. Organizations can also apply to the Mayor's Office of Citywide Event Coordination and Management's Street Activity Permits Office to use a sidewalk or curb lane. We look forward to discussing with the council how to continue transforming streets while better understanding how this proposal would relate to our existing suite of public space programs and other street use. On Intro 258, sponsored by Councilmember Joseph, this administration is committed to increasing access to public bathrooms. There are a number of challenges around public bathrooms that we look forward to discussing further with the council. On the DOT jurisdiction are the automated public toilets, or APTs, installed and maintained by JCDCO pursuant to its citywide coordinated street furniture franchise agreement. I got one of those bathrooms in Plaza Las Americas at 175 between Broadway and Wasser, and I know that I had to fall back with a lot of some people, with some people in the community that didn't want it. So I fought it, I got it, and I'm ready to work with you and the rest of the college to see more public bathrooms in the city of New York, especially in those communities who need it the most. There are a number of challenges to finding locations for those public bathrooms. These include that the bathrooms are large, heavy, and require water and sewer connections. Therefore, they cannot be sited on overpass, bridges, or any other insecure site. In addition, as part of the franchise agreement, all locations need to be approved by the mayor and the council speaker. Along with consultation, we affect the local elected official and community board, as many neighborhoods do not want them. We are happy to work with the council on location where those public bathrooms could be located and look forward to discuss the specific of this legislation further. And even when I explain those challenges that we have, as you know, I don't end it with a no. We are going to focus on how to get it done. On greenways, turning to the Greenway and Intro 291, which would require DOT to create a Greenway master plan, provide updates on budgets and construction, and engage with communities on such plans. New York City currently has more than 150 miles of greenways across the 5 boroughs, and we are working to maintain and grow this system. This administration welcomed this bill, which is in line with both our vision for a greener and more connected city and ongoing efforts to achieve this vision. Historically, the city's greenway network has mainly consisted of pedestrians and cyclist paths in parks. While the park department has continued to expand important corridors in their properties, in recent years, DOT has also implemented transformative separated bike and pedestrian paths in our right-of-way, connecting New Yorkers to the waterfront and green spaces. To give an example, DOT recently completed 2 segments of the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway, one in South Williamsburg along Kent Avenue and another in Sunset Park connecting to the Brooklyn Army Terminal and Owl Heath Park. Working closely with our agency partners, we are expanding the vision of what New York City Greenway network can be. A comprehensive citywide greenway network will enhance bike and pedestrian safety, promote affordable and zero-emission mobility options, increase access to open space, enhance public health, and provide access to jobs and essential services. Expanding the Greenway network will also provide opportunity to connect both residents and visitors to many rich historical and cultural tourist destinations, as well as regional hiking and biking trails. Low and moderate income New Yorkers will especially benefit from a more comprehensive Greenway network, as non-motorized transportation modes have a lower cost to purchase, operate, and maintain. Further, a large body of research shows that cycling is correlated with improved health outcomes, so the expansion of Greenway network will improve health and well-being by encouraging more cycling. As I was riding the bike with the Minister of Transportation, Arlen, he said, if you ride half an hour a bike every day, you will extend 6 years to your life. We had to educate ourselves and educate our communities so that they can know about the benefit of cycling and walking. Finally, expansion of the city-wide greenway network and its ability to connect people to where they live, work, and play will encourage a shift to no-motorized transportation options, resulting in less driving and reducing air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. Building out a citywide greenway plan is in keeping with several of the city's guiding strategy documents. In one NYC's transportation section, New York City pledged to increase connectivity of the bike network through on-street bike lanes and greenway expansion. Roadmap to 80/50, the city's climate change and emission reduction plan calls upon NYC DOT to increase the mode share for bicycling to 10% of all trips by 2050. And finally, the cycling portion of the council mandate NYC Street Plan, DOT committed to developing the next generation of greenways that would be the backbone of a high-capacity separated network for both recreational and commuter trips as a transformative idea. Greenways improve the physical health and mental well-being of every New Yorker. They create new jobs, decrease our dependency on private automobiles, help absorb storm water, increase our tree cover to help reduce heat islands, and create new habitat for wildlife. They are a win for the economy, a win for nature and environmental justice, a win for our physical health and mental well-being, a win for transportation, and a win for every New Yorker's, regardless of their social, ethnic, and economic background. Turning to ongoing and future work to build out the Greenway network, the Premier Yoshi and I had the privilege to attend the NYC Greenway Summit last month, along with Councilmember Rivera, Senator Schumer, and state-elected Greenway champions such as Assemblymember Gallagher and State Senator Bernardis. We congratulate the NYC Greenway Coalition for their advocacy, and they are an important partner in achieving our vision. At the summit, the Adams administration committed $47.6 million in Greenway funding for parks and DOT to implement projects in Brooklyn and Queens, and in Queens developed through the Destination Greenways community planning process last year. DOT and the Parks Department partner with the community members and stakeholders to determine local needs and the amenity along each route. The funding will go forward towards a total of 6 projects, led by Parks with 1 street work by DOT. In Brooklyn, work will improve access to the waterfronts by building new greenway segments in Leif Erikson Park and reconstructing the existing greenway in part of Shore Road Park. In Queens, we will build a new segment in Flushing Meadows Corona Park, Kissena Corridors Park, and Kissena Park, hoping to close greenway gaps in neighborhoods that have been historically left behind. The city is also partnering with residents in other boroughs to make important greenway connections, such as the new greenway connections in the Bronx. For example, as part of the daylighting Tibet Brooks and existing environmental restoration project, DEP and the Park Department will work together to incorporate greenway elements. And work is currently on the way with full funding allocated to complete a 32.5-mile greenway loop around Manhattan, in conjunction with our partners at EDC, focusing on the UN Esplanada, Harlem River, Inwood, and Esplanada Gardens sections. And Parks recently received additional capital funding for safer greenway connections on Randall Island and upgrade the the Pike and Allen Street bike path and pedestrian malls. And in Brooklyn, we recently completed 2 segments of the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway. I mentioned it early, and work is also underway on one of the most critical segments for the Gowanus connector. Currently planned for completion late next year, this project will create a safer separated bike path connecting Sunset Park and Red Hook and Gowanus on Hamilton Avenue. Additional pedestrian safety, landscaping, and accessibility enhancement will help realize the vision of a connected waterfront greenway for Borough. DOT is also working to fill on the street greenway gaps through in-house street improvement projects, including at the following location in 2022 and 2023. Elmos Avenue, Jamaica Bay Greenway, 233th Street, Bronze River Greenway, Crossy Avenue Bridge, Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway in developments, Richmond Terrace, North Shore Greenway in Staten Island in development, Lafayette Avenue, Bronze Waterfront Greenway, and East 180th Street, Bronze River Greenway in developments. And the following additional DOT Greenway capital projects were recently funded. $25.2 million in the April plan for a new grade separated 2-way path along Utopia Parkway from Criders Lane and Little Bay Park to the Cross Island Parkway, and seawall upgrades further north along the Parkway. $16 million for a new connection to the Bronze River Greenway at East Tremont, including redesigning and reconstructing a complex intersection to transform it into a major gateway to the Bronze River Greenway. This project is now fully funded at $33 million, and $19.8 million in the April and September plans to build out and improve segments of the Jamaica Bay Greenway through Marine Park and down Flatbush Avenue toward Floyd Bennett Field. On the raise grant filing the GAPS NYC Greenway expansion plan in order to further advance our vision for Greenway and in line with the goals of Intro 291, DOT recently requested $7.2 million in United States Department of Transportation Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, or RACE, funding for filing the GAPS NYC Greenway expansion plan. This RACE grant application is part of the city's effort to go after every dollar available from the bipartisan infrastructure law to advance projects that will benefit New Yorkers for decades to come. Filing the GAPS will be a collaboration between DOT, Parks, and EDC to increase walking and cycling for community, leisure, and exercise by planning for a comprehensive network of greenway. This raised funding will be used to review previous plans and studies, engage community partners, develop analytical tools for redetermining priority corridors, including a macro mobility demand model, and complete a citywide gap and opportunity analysis. The outcome of filing the GAP will include a vision plan that articulates the city principles for completing the Greenway network, also 5 early action corridor plans for greenways across the 5 boroughs, and a set of future action corridor candidates for further development. Taken together, these plans will enable a major expansion in the New York City Greenway network with a focus on underdeveloped greenway sections located chronically in disenfranchised communities. The aim of filing the GAP is to prepare for sharing in a new era of multimodal infrastructure investments, focus on greenways, capitalizing on the nation's changing priorities, and increasing investments in active transportation and open space infrastructure, pandemic recovery and job creation, climate action, and equity. As Intro 291 moves forward, DOT and our sister agency look forward to discussing the details of its requirements further to align it with the aggressive pace of our planning effort and federal resources, we hope to bring to bear and to structure the reporting, updating, and community engagement requirements to make them as effective and efficient as possible and align with our existing mandate. In conclusion, I would like to thank the chair, the speaker, all members of this council for the opportunity to testify before you today. I will look forward to working with you to enhance access to public space for all New Yorkers and build more connected greenway network that will benefit New Yorkers for generations to come. We will be happy to answer any question after you hear from assisting agency colleague. En español, en 30 segundos, en 30 seconds, hoy es un día muy importante donde estamos testificando en representación del alcalde Eric Adams sobre la visión que tiene esta ciudad de seguir construyendo más conectividades hacia los parques y haciendo más áreas de la calle que estén más verdes para de esa forma nosotros proveer que la comunidad de trabajadora también tengan los mismos recursos que tienen la comunidad de clase media y clase alta. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers, members of the Transportation Committee, and other members of City Council. I'm Sarah Nielsen, Chief of Policy and Long Range Planning for New York City Parks. I'm happy to be testifying together with our partner agencies, New York City Department of Transportation, and here with New York City Economic Development Corporation. I want to start by noting our appreciation for the Council's continued advocacy for our city's open spaces, of which parks play a vital role. Without your continued support, much of the important work we do would not even be possible. I would like to first address Intro 291, which is concerned with creating a citywide greenways master plan. New York City Parks firmly believes that all New Yorkers deserve access to quality public space, and we are committed to increasing equity and access. We see greenways as an important step in achieving this. Greenways connect communities to our city's parks, bike paths, and waterfront. They serve as both destination and thoroughfare. They provide access to nature and offer options for safe physical activity among diverse users, serving as vital green spaces, especially for New Yorkers who don't live next to a big park. Expanding New York City's greenways has been a key priority for the city, and there are now more than 150 miles of greenways throughout the 5 boroughs. We at New York City Parks believe that all New Yorkers deserve beautiful green spaces. We are working with our sister agencies to expand the citywide greenway network across all 5 boroughs so that we can strengthen the connections between our parks. We are proud of our recent work with DOT on the Destination Greenways study. In this study, our 2 agencies embarked on a conceptual planning process for 2 key corridors. One was in Queens, one was in Brooklyn. Our goal was to connect the small greenway segments within existing parks by making those vital connections from park to park to park. We gathered community input to focus on filling gaps in those 2 existing routes. Currently, we are working to expand this model of determining greenway improvements to additional routes in other boroughs, noting that Bronx is very high priority. The Destination Greenway Studies strives to make greenways safer and more inviting for all New Yorkers and will enhance treasured open space in many neighborhoods. Community involvement was essential to this study. We are pleased to share that approximately 1,000 individuals registered for our virtual community input meetings. We spoke to about 200 people last summer out along the Greenway route during our on-site outreach events. And we also received about 800 comments on the interactive project website while the study was ongoing. New York City Parks also works regularly with EDC, adding new greenway miles to the Manhattan waterfront. We are currently in the process of wrapping up the design for the Harlem River Greenway from 125th to 132nd. This project will add 7 new acres of waterfront open space along that stretch of waterfront and will connect miles of greenway to the north and to the south. These steps will close a major gap in the Manhattan waterfront greenway, providing New Yorkers with easier access to vibrant new spaces. In the Bronx, We were pleased to open the Putnam Greenway in 2020. This project built 2.8 miles of new greenway that connects Van Cortlandt Park with the South County Trail System in Westchester County and the Empire State Trail all the way to Albany and beyond. There are plans to extend the greenway further south as part of DEP's project to daylight Tibbetts Brook. That long-awaited project is in design now, and we are working closely with DEP. In Queens, we are fully reconstructing the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway and Joe Michaels Mile. Both of these vital greenways are being renovated in separate two-phase projects. For both, Phase 1 has already been completed, and we're pleased to announce that Phase 2 is currently underway. These routes make up key segments of the overall Destination Greenways routes as well. As part of that project, we are also closing greenway gaps in Flushing Meadows Corona Park, Casina Corridor Park, and Casina Park. And in Brooklyn, we're building new greenway segments in Leif Erikson Park and reconstructing existing greenway segments in Shore Road. As these projects move forward, New York City Parks will continue to collaborate with partner agencies and work with key stakeholders to holistically plan for in-park and on-street greenway improvements and help strengthen connections between our parks. New York City Parks is thrilled that Mayor Adams and the council have advocated funding for greenways in the budget. This investment will fill gaps in existing routes with a focus on connecting communities to parks overall. I would also like to take a moment to address Introduction 258 and note, as Commissioner Rodriguez stated, that this administration is committed to increasing access to public restrooms. New York City Parks is extremely proud that we currently operate 680 comfort stations. That's what we call bathrooms in the Parks Department, and public restrooms across the 5 boroughs. We are actively increasing that number to this day. We recognize that there are certain challenges around building public restrooms, but we look forward to continued discussion on this issue with the council and with our sister agencies. I thank you for the opportunity to testify alongside DOT and EDC today, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I'm hoping that the project you spoke of will also look to connect Southeast Queens and the Rockaways to some of those amazing assets in Northern Queens as well. Before I go into my questions, I would like to acknowledge my colleagues in the council that are present in today's hearing. Councilmember Rivera, Yeager, Areola, Farias, Kagan, Lee, Narcisse, Stevens, Williams, and Carr. So in the mayor's economic recovery blueprint released at the beginning of March, the administration committed to launching an interagency working group to coordinate city initiatives and programs in our public spaces. What is the status of this group, and has it held a meeting?
The Public Realm Interagency Working Group, led by City Hall, is already meeting regularly to address better coordination, activation and management of public space, from open restaurant to quality of life to RAS. Work is already on the way across agency, including the agency that has come together in that planning process are DOT, City Planning, Department of Sanitation, Parks, and Small Business Solution, SBS.
Thank you. Will the working group produce a report?
We definitely that's a goal. I'm not necessarily coming on the report, but definitely we are coming together, working, on producing the results of this meeting. I'm more than happy, of course, to follow with you to share that information of the result of that work.
And the report mentions that the working group, which, as you mentioned, is composed of city agencies, will work in coordination with bids, businesses, and residents. How will this working group coordinate with outside stakeholders? How will the bids and residents be identified to participate? And how will the administration work to ensure these groups are representative of the entire city?
So far, the interagency working group has been focused on representative for the agency coming together. As a former council member, I also understand, and the administration understand the importance also getting the input of different stakeholders, outside the agency. So we will identify a way of how to get the feedback, but so far we're just doing the interagency meetings to learn on how we can, we can come out with a plan. But definitely we are committed to, get the input for other stakeholders, including, elected officials and community boards and other leaders from the different communities that are related to those agencies.
No, thank you for that. And I think it's important that we're centering the voices of the residents and finding a way to engage them and identify them accordingly so that it is reflective of the different corners of the city. I definitely encourage or welcome the opportunity to coordinate that outreach with the council members for these various districts, especially the areas that have historically been under-resourced.
Of course.
Starting during the pandemic, the Department of Transportation has been tasked with operating an increasing number of public space-related programs. How does the administration believe public space decisions and responsibilities that cut across agency boundaries should be coordinated?
DOT is working closely with our sister agency to manage public space, all under the direction of Mayor Adams and Deputy Mayor Yoshi. This includes working closely with, again, as I said, some of the agencies that I mentioned after, but the Department of Sanitation, Fire Department, NYPD, Park, and more. This is you heard from Mayor Adams during the time of campaigning after winning election, and now as a mayor, he do truly believe that we had to reimagine the use of public space. This is important for this administration. This is important for me as a commissioner, and this is the direction that we are taking of the city, reimagining the use of more public space, basically thinking about the pedestrian and cyclists as a top priority.
Do you think that DOT should assume the role or of primary responsibility for public space planning?
It's definitely yes. This is the agency that had decades of experience. After being chosen to be commissioner of DOT, in my second day, what I did was connecting with all the previous commissioners. Because one of the things that we had to celebrate in the city is the level of continuity that we have. And I think that when we look at DOT, and I'm happy, and the team at DOT take this job with a lot of pride. They dedicate many of them have dedicated decades serving under many commissioners, listening to voices of the community, thinking about how to reimagine the use of public space. So DOT have a lot of experience when it comes to management of public space. So as someone that also had a role to oversee this agency in my 8 years, now having the role that you have, which is a great leadership opportunity that we have, I was there questioning DOT, going after those questions. What I can tell you is about during my previous 8 years as chairman of the Transportation Committee, what I heard is about expertise. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the DOT commissioner became now to be the second one nationwide, because all the municipalities, they want to learn about the expertise that we have in New York City. So this is the agency, again, that has developed more experience, more knowledge, and know how to run public space.
Would the administration support the creation of a new office responsible for managing the city's public space and coordinating across agencies?
I can start sharing a little bit, and Sean will also want to add anything more, but I can say that I think the idea is a great one. We need to, those of us who served before COVID, we know that a lot of the open street, open restaurant, open school, we were having this discussion before COVID. We were asking the previous administration about give more space or street to the community. I believe that COVID helped us for us to get there, to go to that line where we were able to start many of the open streets. Is the biggest one in the nation. Open restaurant is the biggest one in the nation. So for any measure we use, we are the role model, and I feel that, this is what we have seen at DOT, and I had, again, that we do have a team at DOT that run open space, who are responsible for space, who've been identifying opportunity to turn more space in the street into pedestrian plaza, into open schools. So the things right now is about, I'm more than happy to continue this conversation, with the council member who carried this bill with you as a chair and the speaker to see how we can, get to the finish line. But I think at the end of the day, we share the importance to continue having a space where we control, we run everything related to open space. But DOT been doing it and been doing a great job.
Speaking and staying in line with your comments on the pandemic, what does DOT believe it has accomplished with regard to public space since the start of the pandemic, and what enduring changes would it like to see based on what the agency has learned?
A lot. First of all, when we thought about the importance to identify open street, we thought that it was important to identify location where during COVID, New Yorkers wanted to have more space as they walk in distance to each other. And by the type of open space that we had during COVID was more having barricades in those blocks that we closed. After COVID is, again, hopefully over, but as we are today, we are doing more programming open street. What we have today is 156 open street, no yes corridor, but all of them has a partner or DOT is running those open street full of programming on art, culture, and education. So this is something that, again, that was started as something temporary, became permanent when it comes to open street. And then we can look about, the open restaurant, the other thing that we did, pedestrian plaza, Quisqueya Plaza, it was under COVID. When Bocadito couldn't open a restaurant in Seaman and Dykeman, I went there to visit its owners every day. She was closed. I went there to give her hope that she will be able to reopen. I was able to turn Dykeman between Broadway and Seaman as something that started as an open street today to be a permanent plaza. So I know how to get those things done, and I did it in my district, and I will be doing it in any council district that any of you represent that would like to continue identifying open street and even thinking about how we can turn open street as something more permanent.
Staying in alignment with the plazas, I want to pivot over to maintenance. Could you tell us about DOT's plans for ensuring public spaces under its jurisdictions, like pedestrian plazas, are maintained? I will just make mention, as you know, I've been doing my citywide tour district to district, and an example is in Councilmember Francisco Moya's district, where there's a plaza there and some concerns in terms of the upkeep of the plaza. So I'm interested in understanding the plans for ensuring that public spaces under your jurisdiction are maintained.
My team here, they will get more details about the day-by-day support that DOT provide in those plazas who need more resources. What I can tell you is that I was sitting back there when the Times Square Plaza Alliance came here asking for support on some bill related to the Disney custom. I took that advantage as I was working with them to think that they need in Times Square. And I told them, I will support you. However, will you adopt a plaza in the underserved community? Not each plaza is composed by board members that represent the New York Times, the Daily News, the real estate, the big corporation. So the way how I did it was not only asking DOT, can you please help me with the Quisqueya Plaza for them to have the resources that I need to keep this street clean, but I also want to Times Square Plaza and say, can you also adopt another plaza that you can also help them with the programming. So I think that, we've been doing, I personally have that experience, but I would like to pass to the team to explain a little bit more about how is that we're supporting those plazas.
Sure, yeah, thank you for the question. And Corona Plaza is absolutely one of our more challenging locations. We do provide a lot of support for that space through our Plaza Equity Program, NYC Plaza Equity Program, which through the support of the council, we've been able to fund over the past 10 or so years that the program's been in existence. Using that plaza as an example, we are working to hire a plaza manager, someone who's thinking about it every day. We're working to bolster our partnership, doing trainings with our partner to help them grow. We are working on programming the plaza, like the commissioner mentioned, is a huge piece of the puzzle of how to activate a space and make sure that it's not being overrun with undesirable uses, but sort of becoming a real place for the community to gather. We have 31 plazas in our 85 plaza system that receive direct support through this Plaza Equity Program. 17 of those high-need plazas receive a full suite of maintenance services that includes sweeping, cleaning, bagging trash, power washing, pest abatement, snow clearance. So that's all funded through our programs and a partnership that we have with the Horticultural Society of New York. We also partner with other city agencies to tackle some issues that we may not be able to tackle through our resources, but we have all hands on deck examples in Fordham Plaza in the Bronx and Corona Plaza. We are meeting regularly with other city agencies to tackle some of those issues. A lot of those issues in Corona Plaza and other places were there pre-Plaza. It did create a place for people to gather and a place where people sort of want to be. So I think it sort of creates a problem, but also creates a solution for the community at the same time. And with us really helping and pushing and having these resources funneled to those spaces, we think we can solve those problems and manage them over time.
And just staying on this for a little bit, because in my district also, I have a similar issue with the Beach 20th Street Plaza in Far Rockaway that is largely overrun by, unhoused individuals that are not having certain needs met. And so that's become a space. There's also a lot of criminal activity that's taking place there, and it's resulting in local merchants closing and not being able to get the foot traffic that they like because of people being fearful of passing it. And so when you talk about, for example, community partners, if community partners are utilized for this purpose, what is DOT doing to ensure that cleaning and maintenance is equitable, especially in areas with limited resources? So as I said in my earlier statement, not every community has a bid. Mm-hmm. And so even when we have these amazing pilot programs that come out of the administration, communities like the one that I represent often miss out on the opportunity, and sometimes they don't even come until way down. Like, I just noticed a new Link kiosk in Southeast Queens recently, and look on how many years that project has been in place. And that's just an example of how long it takes the city administration to get to some of these pockets of the city that need a little bit more resource and support. And so when I asked what is DOT's plan, understanding you do have the Times Square Alliance and very strong bids across the city, but when DOT opens up a plaza, I feel like there needs to be a plan to be able to regularly have eyes on these plazas to see what's going on so that it can be more proactive instead of reactionary, because the Beach 20th Street Plaza, the condition that it's been in there for several years now. I use extra expense funding for it to be cleaned up. My predecessor had to do that as well. So you're talking about two administrations right now that have to now put money towards it, not to mention our local community organizations put resources towards it also, but it's a plaza that's under the jurisdiction of the Department of Transportation.
It is, but it is as you heard, we have 17 high-need plaza. They receive a full suite of maintenance service, sweeping, cleaning, bagging trash, furniture setup, graffiti removal, snow clearance, pest abandonment, power washing, and more. 14 million need plaza receive financial subsidy of up to $20,000 yearly to support maintenance, operation, and programming. So I'm more than happy again to follow with you. If there's any particular one, not only in your district, but in any council member that you feel that they have not taken advantage of that opportunity, so please let us know, and more than happy to connect with those services.
Absolutely, and I would just say that I'm looking for the administration to take a more active role in dealing with the quality of life issues in public spaces, currently also managed by private organizations as well. And so just having a full plan of action, because, you know, as you said, the Department of Transportation has been doing this for a long time. So I really want to understand what those plans are and how we are addressing the needs of these challenges that we see with the plazas.
Great.
How does DOT coordinate with other agencies to ensure upkeep of street or sidewalk adjacent spaces that aren't under its jurisdiction? And this is something that also comes up often because it's really hard to decide, like, if you have a street, little island that has trees and stuff, is it parks, is it DOT? And, you know, regular community folks won't necessarily know. Sometimes we assume it's parks. Sometimes, you know, it ends up being DOT. So how does DOT coordinate with other agencies around this?
Look, first of all, this administration is focused on efficiency. And that's why on the leadership of Melanie LaRocca, appointed by Mayor Adams as the Chief of Efficiency. For efficiency, one of the goals of this administration is to be sure that all agencies continue identifying different way of how we share responsibility. So for me, when it comes to any space related important for any New Yorkers in any neighborhood, especially my heart is on the underserved community, that we feel that there's not attention necessary given, that require for DOT to coordinate it with park or sanitation, any other, yes, let us know. That's a priority of Mayor Adams. This is a priority that I have as a commissioner because I was trained in this body in my 2 years to be sure that even though my role is not a legislator, but now it's doing the management part, to be sure that I continue focusing on what I fought for those 2 years. I live in the underserved community. I've been living in the underserved community since I arrived here in 1983. So no one had to be teaching me outside this room about what I'm challenging me is about, you know, those who live in privileged community to know here we have underserved community that require the same attention, that require the same services. So this is priority for this administration. This is something that is so deep in my consciousness. So any area that you feel that, you know, is important for any community that you feel that is related to transportation, but that interact with parks, sanitation, and other, that you don't feel that no one is leading, bring it to us. And that's why I brought each borough commissioner here, so that anyone also know the council member that not only we are here to testify on behalf of this administration, but they're listening. And the instruction that I got from the mayor is work around equity. And the instruction that my borough commissioner and director of each division has is, we want to continue turning New York City as the safest and most efficient transportation system in the whole nation. That's our goal, and I know that we can accomplish that goal together.
What is the total funding in fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 for the Plaza Equity Program?
Yeah. Sharon, you want to take on that one? We have the information here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so for all of our programs combined, we recently received $5.4 million for the Plaza Equity Program, on top of existing funding that we had from previous administrations. So between the Plaza Equity Program and other funds that we have to service our Open Street program, we have over $8 million a year for those programs. And that money goes directly to support these spaces and our partnerships.
Thank you. Next, I want to talk about equity issues around the bids. The bids cover around 2% of the city and do not exist in neighborhoods with limited resources or residential areas. Does DOT believe that our current system for providing public amenities through private partners like bids is a sufficient model for all neighborhoods?
No, it doesn't. And that's not the approach that we have at DOT, to rely on bid to organize any plan for public space. This is not the way of how I got Plaza Quisqueya. There was no bid involved. It was about bringing together the small business community. It was about bringing together the local leaders of that community. We are focusing more on the need. We are focusing more around, any group. First of all, we as a DOT, we are, I can say, working 24/7. This is how hard the team work at DOT to be sure that in our own work and workshop and the DOT ambassador that we have and the borough commissioner that we identify any space that we can be turned as a public space, as a public plaza, as an open street. But if there's any, we also rely on the voices of the community. We rely on the faith community. We rely on the educational department that we have at DOT. We rely on you as a council member. So we will continue expanding. The numbers of not only, again, open street, closed with barricades. We will be working with you to be sure that as we have any plaza that they have a numbers of bid, on behalf, working with them, which is nothing wrong, but then we have the other out-of-borough area that they don't have those bids, that they just rely on DOT being able to identify where we should bring those open streets, those open plaza, and we work with the stakeholder of those community. And of course, for me, working with a council member is a top priority.
Yeah, I would just add that only about 50% of our plazas are managed by bids, and those bids range from, of course, the Times Square Alliance to much smaller bids throughout the Bronx, the 3rd Avenue Willis bid in the Bronx, for example, and only 22% of our open streets are managed by bids. So a large majority of our public realm and public spaces are managed by non-bid partners.
And what about the resources to ensure that they are properly maintained?
And that goes back to the public space equity monies and funds that we have. That goes directly to those spaces funded by the agency. We partner with the Horticultural Society to do a lot of the work, plus with our sister agencies. So we have a great amount of funding for that. We also offer to our open street partners, for example, up to $20,000 annually in reimbursement for programming and other types of resources that they pour into an open space. So we do have a lot of ways to support and fund, directly support and fund partners, be it a small community group to a larger community-based organization.
And I think that now, we have joggers here, who is also work around the division that has, he's the Associate Commissioner for Grants and Fiscal Management. The team that he lead also is so committed to identify other source of funding, to see if there's any grant opportunity that will come in the future. And when we think about any particular big project that we can apply for any grants, we also thinking about, can we include any piece related to any innovative way of how to use public space. So I feel that, as I say, like I got a plaza in Dyckman, not because DOT went there and say, let's build a plaza. I got a plaza as a council member. I called DOT, say we need to have a plaza here. So I just feel that as we are all together in this, as DOT go identify the potential area we have to build a plaza, we have the resources that help to keep the plaza clean, but also, I would like to see more council members into saying, here at Yankee Stadium, you are here in the Bronx, can you also be a partners with this plaza? Here we have the the City Field. Can also City Field be a partners with any plaza that is around there? The New York private stadium, I built a plaza 168 in Fort Washington. but I called on them. So I feel that, definitely, creating more green space for especially those underserved communities is something that we will see more than coming, but I also feel that it is important that as DOT identify resources, I don't know if you want to add a little bit on potential grant that we are looking to see in the future that you share with them.
Sure. So actually the infrastructure bill that was recently passed by Congress, along with prior bills, have provided some sort of funding for work of this kind. It's not necessarily monies just for plazas, but we do get monies that would allow for implementation, which still leaves the maintenance question the way the council member asked, but we do get federal funding opportunities to do work of this kind, plazas, to implement, to design, to construct.
So what I'm saying is that this is something that we're thinking about. If there's any grants as they come out in the future, to see any potential of those grants that also can be related for some funding on capital expense that will allow us to continue expanding our plazas.
Thank you for that. Now, in terms of the community partners, for many public space improvements, DOT requires that a local partner maintain a liability agreement and insurance. Other than open streets, which public space programs and amenities require a community partner? And what about street safety improvements?
Well, again, Sean also can add any other details with this. You heard all the details about Plaza, and so I'm not going to be repeating again the 20,000 funding that anyone can apply for that will help those who run those plazas. I also mentioned about how DOT work with those plazas who had more need to also get all the resources for them to keep it clean. With the open street, most of the open street also are a initiative where most of them are CBOs that they identify, a block that they would like to apply for, and we've been, I can say, supporting most of them. But I don't know if you want to add anything more on this.
Yeah, sure. So I know that's the liability insurance is a piece of the puzzle that is sort of evolving in part due to the experiences we had during the pandemic with open streets. We recently, for example, relaxed some of those requirements around bike corral installment, and the city is taking on that responsibility more directly. I know we've been speaking with some of the bid partners around this specific issue and trying to figure out ways that we can reduce that requirement over time. I think, our open streets, we require very little of the partner in terms of liability. It's a very basic agreement we have them sign, but some of our spaces do require a bit more, including our plazas, and again, that's something that we're in discussion with a lot of our partners as we speak.
Does DOT believe burdensome liability and insurance requirements are inequitable?
I think that's a good question. I think that's what we're working through right now. I think there's for example, however, some of the funding that we have that we give to partners at $20,000 for open street partners or some of our plaza partners can go to cover any sort of insurance that the partner is required to hold as part of partnership with the city. So we look for ways to help reduce some of that burden, especially for our partners that don't have the resources, like our larger bids, for example. So we understand that it can be a barrier, but we have been working to find ways to reduce that.
Okay. I'm going to try and run through my last few questions as quickly as possible so we can get time with you all and the other members present. BQE. The mayor announced that the city will start construction on a permanent fix for the BQE in 5 years, rather than implementing short-term fixes. What is the administration's timeline for deciding on a plan for the BQE? How will the community be engaged in this process? And how will DOT ensure the roadway is safe prior to construction? This is something that, as you know, is very important to Councilmember Ressler, but also myself. We've seen in other major cities where critical infrastructure that has gone unmaintained has resulted in, literally crumbling while they have commuters on there. So I have, strong concern about the conditions of the BQE, and I'm very interested in your response to these questions as well.
Yeah. First of all, the BQE will be the most important infrastructure project led by DOT, by New York City under Mayor Adams and we as a DOT. As you know, when that BQE was built, they have a time of how long they can live, they can stay, they can be safe. Based on the engineer that we have, as we're speaking right now, and we're confident this is a safe place. The question now is, BQEs being a vital part of transportation system and our economy, we can most immediately start working with the community on a plan for the safe, modern, resilience, and a structure we need. So we are not going with the short version. We are going for taking advantage of mega infrastructure potential grants that there's in DC. This is something that we need to do not only for our generation, but for generations to come, to be sure that we plan together with the community. And we've been meeting, we have met with a number of occasions with a number of elected officials, including the council member that represent that area. We've been going also through meeting a community board. We cannot wait 2 decades and unnecessarily spend hundreds of millions of additional taxpayer dollars from $700 to $700 million. That's what the prior plan would have done. We are taking a bold, corridor-wide approach to address the entire structure and reconnect communities who need it the most that have been divided by this highway. And I can assure you the road, as I said before, is safe. We are moving forward with all of the necessary repairs, and the structure is constantly monitored. We have a once-in-generation opportunity to access the federal funding. We need to reimagine and rebuild the BQE for the post-pandemic city and economic. And definitely the community, the stakeholders that represent this community will be part of this process.
Moving to Intro 258, the report on suitable locations for public bathrooms. In 2006, the city agreed to a franchise agreement with J.C. Deco to install 20 public toilets. Only 5 have been installed. More than 15 years later, in 2020, DOT indicated that 2 new public restrooms, quote unquote, will be installed soon. What is DOT's current timeline for installing these 2 bathrooms, and where will they be located? What are the challenges that have led to such a significant delay? Is there anything the council can do to make it easier to install public bathrooms? Does the administration have a plan for increasing the number of public restrooms across the city? And lastly, on this bill, has the administration explored other options for increasing bathroom access, such as providing incentives to businesses that open their facilities to the public?
Yeah. So as I said in my opening testimony, this administration, led by Mayor Eric Adams, is committed to increasing its access to public bathrooms. There are a number of challenges around public bathrooms that we look forward to discussing with you, Chair, and the Speaker, and the rest of the council member. DOT resources for installing public bathrooms are the automated public toilet, J.C. Deco, install and maintain all those toilets, and pursuant to a citywide coordinated street furniture franchise agreement. There are, as mentioned before, numbers of challenges to seating those public bathrooms, including the bathrooms are too large, heavy, and hard to find location for. They need water, sewer connection, and can be sited on our overpass, bridges, or any other unsecure site. However, as I say, those are not excuses that I'm going to be ever been using Because of that, we are not putting public bathroom. I did it again in my district, but I also know that I had to fight with some people that even though I had to support DOT to do it, some people didn't want it. So I feel that definitely continue conversation with you and the rest of your colleagues is important, especially in those areas when a council member is behind. More than happy to work with them.
Moving to the Department of Parks and the comfort stations. So a recent report by the city found that in addition to the city, what I know firsthand, that the standard bathroom facilities installed by the Parks Department cost between $3 to $5 million. Why is it so expensive to install bathrooms in parks? To what does the department attribute these massive cost increases? And the article in the city specifically mentioned simple bike racks that retail for $475 online, costing $6,000 to install. Why have these costs ballooned out of control, and what is the department doing to address this?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. And we're very interested in this bill. We're very eager to find ways to provide more restroom access for New Yorkers across the city. I don't have the specifics on the examples that you gave as far as the cost of providing new comfort stations. There generally, as Commissioner Rodriguez mentioned, the utility access can tend to be a real cost driver in those, so that's sort of a general statement there.
Thank you. For Intro 293 program to allow community centers, schools, arts and cultural institutions and religious institutions to use adjacent outdoor spaces, how do current DOT open space programs such as Open Streets incorporate community organizations? How would the program created by this bill interact with the city's other plans for making COVID-era public space programs permanent?
We want more. We've been asking for. As I said before, getting into the summer, I told my team to contact each of the 51 council member staff. We contact community board. We contact the faith community. We welcome the schools, CBOs, anyone that has any interest of using any area near those locations. We are more than happy to work with them to support them for them to have to reimagine the use of those public space. You want to ask anything?
Yeah, I think the programs that we have, we're, like the commissioner said, we're always seeking out any type of partner. We have the tools to support those partners. We have a very active Open Street School program where we're partnering with schools to activate their streets. We have a Street Seats program where we can activate sidewalks and curb lanes with local businesses and partners. So we're always looking to partner. We're looking for even just location suggestions where maybe DOT or other city agencies can take on that role, but very much open to that. And we also work very closely with our sister agencies at SBS and our SAPO to ensure permitting and access to these programs are streamlined and easy for especially community-based organizations to get involved.
And one of my suggestions is also, and this is something that again that I've been discussing with my team, I would like to see more, open street or the other reorganizing of the public space to also be a structure around particular thing. Let's say I've been speaking to Ken Baxiba, from Back New York, and besides, let's say, to see Back New York using a space at the Inwood Park, which, I've been working with her since I was a council member. I hope to see one of those blocks that is close yet to teach kids how to bike. I think that it is so important. Again, any CBOs, I want to see the Lincoln Center, the Carnegie Hall, also to be expanded. The talented program that they have, besides being the Midtown, for them to expand to the outer border. And I can say, especially to the council member, because this is the moment where the budget is over. As any culture institution come to the council, as I do as the DOT, bring them as a partner. I feel that, it is a commitment of this administration to reimagine more space, or that have been used only for cars, to be used for pedestrians, to be used for New Yorkers in our community. And most people die during COVID not because COVID killed them. They die because of asthma being one of those factors. So I think it is important that we reimagine, how to turn some of the space, near school, near CBOs, as something can be used for them too. So DOT is ready to support anyone that is interested to turn any adjourned area as a public, as an open street, or other use, we're here to support it.
Does DOT support giving community organizations the right to utilize adjacent public space? And I'll let you answer that before I move on.
The answer is yeah, there's a process, as you know. Remember that we started as temporary open street, but then in open restaurant was temporary, but then we are still in the process to figure out how to make it permanent. So I think that for me, it's all about, for any CVOs and institution that want to use the space to know that, we're here to support them. But definitely, we are not dealing with red tapes. We are not here to say no. We are here to turn into the yes. We are here to be guided by Mayor Adam, who say, get things done. And this is our approach, this is our commitment.
I would just make a quick example. Last summer, and we partnered with the Brooklyn Public Library to create 2 outdoor reading rooms in the curb lane and sidewalk space for the public to use. It's that adjacent space right next to the library. It provided extra room outside, very little red tape, as the commissioner was saying. So that street seat program and the curbside programs that we have are open for anybody who's willing to or interested in the program.
As it pertains, sorry, go ahead.
Could I just add to that? I think one thing we're trying to say is that a lot of our existing programs that we want to make even bigger and better could achieve some of the goals of the bill. It does propose sort of this model where you can print out a form online and sign it and just start programming right away. We do think that as we're moving forward and making these programs permanent, that more coordination of the kind we're talking about with the agency is more appropriate for accessibility, for sanitation, for noise, for making sure that we can complete other transportation projects. So that sort of just download a form, sign it, and start programming is a model that we have used, but we think that moving forward, a little bit more coordination and oversight and partnership with the agency is beneficial.
In terms of the school open streets and community partners, there was an effort, a city program that was given schools outdoor space in the neighboring streets. What is DOT doing around the loss of schools in the program? There's a lot of resources needed to make it work on the school end, and it's contributing to disparities where community partners are lacking.
We do. When the outdoor learning program was initially launched, it was direct need for people to these schools to have outdoor spaces during a time when being indoors was challenging. So the program was initially a lot larger, but it definitely had a different purpose. As the COVID pandemic evolved and changed, a lot of those schools no longer needed that space, and they declined to reapply to the program. However, the door is open to any school who wants to apply. We will provide the resources and barricades and signage and elements to any school that's willing to do it. I think right now we have 40 schools. It fluctuates throughout the year. We have a bunch of school programming and summer camps, for example, this summer with the Fresh Air Fund coming online. When the school season is out, we sort of shift our focus to these summer camp type open streets, and then in the fall, we anticipate the school numbers to pick back up as school comes back into session. So we're willing to work with any sort of school administration or parent organizations to even organize an open street outside of the school that might not be affiliated with the school if those parent organizations want to get involved.
Yeah, and in my 15 years as a teacher that I was before being a council member for 12, and I learned that teaching doesn't happen or learning doesn't happen only in the classroom. So I feel that, again, there's a lot of things that, a year from now, we're going to be talking about things that we learned during COVID. There's another teacher here too. So what we also know that it is important to use the outdoor space, not only to have seating area, but also you can learn math, you can learn science. There's a different thing that you can do. However, that's going to be on the, Chancellor Banks, to, as a Chancellor DOE, to decide how they will continue using those outdoor space around the school. And of course, as we know, as a commissioner of color, we also know that, usually those schools in the underserved community are the one that also I would like to continue seeing more use of the outside street in front of the school, because that's one of the gaps that we have. If you are a public school, which is like, in more the upper class, you do a lot of things outside the classroom. So I hope that, again, that this is something that, we will continue seeing not only during the time of COVID, but also as COVID is over.
Thank you. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, but first I'm going to ask questions on behalf of Council Member Althea Stevens. One moment, I'm just trying to find it again. So although Destination Greenways selected the Harlem River Greenway as the project in the Bronx with longtime resident support, DOT and Parks decided the project was too complicated and abandoned it. Since the Bronx has seen consistent disinvestment, why was it not a priority to ensure equity and see this project through?
Sorry, I'll take it up.
Hi, thanks for the question. So we are looking forward to, optimistically that we'll be receiving the RAISE grant, and we'll be working with DOT and EDC on the citywide sort of build out of a destination greenway style, filling the gaps of greenway projects. When we chose the two routes for this sort of, what we were looking at in Destination Greenways as the first ones, we really wanted to focus on where there were existing greenways within parks that we could connect parks to parks to parks with partnership with DOT so that we could make those continuous sort of destination type of routes. The Queens route and the Brooklyn route enabled us to achieve that. The one in the Bronx didn't have as many parks, city property that would be as readily available for that. So we do look forward to working on that in the Filling the Gaps RAISE grant program.
Why do Bronx residents have less waterfront access and less on-water recreational activities than any other borough? What steps are you taking to rectify this?
Thanks for the question. I think that's a really broad question for the scope of the Greenways conversation we're having right now. So I think we do have quite a few, all kinds of parks projects ongoing in the Bronx. I wouldn't know if I could just catalog them all in a TikTok for this conversation, but I appreciate the question.
Well, in the same vein, in terms of the Greenway conversation, at a very minimum, I would imagine that Parks knows how much of that borough has access to their waterfront, correct?
Do you mean?
Like, just access to it. Like, the Bronx, as a borough, has probably, far less access to utilizing their waterfront spaces than other boroughs in comparison.
I appreciate the question. We haven't done a study to compare that access in that way, so I'm not sure I could speak to that in a clearer way.
But one thing that I'm not going to speak on the waterfront related to park, but I can say on the Greenway, this is priority for Mayor Eric Adams. He been explaining on the correlation between the Bronx dealing with a lot of violence from the shooting and pedestrian and cycling losing their life, and a borough that was left behind in the past when it comes to receiving the necessary investment, as many other underserved community in all the borough went through the same thing. So what we will see on this administration, what we have seen already, is this administration working with the local council members in that borough, as we would be doing in each boroughs of our city, to be sure that we give more attention, that will translate into the dollars, into the investment, so that the resident of the Bronx will be seeing how we're going to be expanding the Greenway in the great borough of the Bronx.
Thank you for that. I will say, considering that, we always hear from the agencies talking about the administration's commitment to equity, something as it pertains to access to the waterfront and borough by borough, community by community, I think it's important that the agency have a read on that, so that when we're having a conversation, we can maximize the opportunity to really get to the heart of the equity conversation. So I would love to see a report to understand better where the access is, where they're not. I know some of the community partners have already done their own assessment and can probably give you a head start, but I think it will be helpful for the conversation in the long term. With that, I'll pass it over to Councilmember Joseph.
Well, thank you. I have so many questions. I don't know where to start. I probably won't have 5 minutes. One is around Newkirk Plaza in my district. This is one of the worst parent relationship between MTA and the city. I want you guys to figure it out. Get together, have a beer or something, and figure it out how we're going to take care of Newkirk Plaza. It's been in despair, run down, and every time you talk to one agency, they point to the other one points to it. So I'm looking for some answers on Newkirk Plaza, how we're going to make it, how we're going to fix it. Rats had taken over. I was at the plaza visiting. There was rats running around, trash. So we need to fix it. That's one. 2, street safety around schools. Erasmus Hall, Flatbush Avenue is one of the worst streets where students, a lot of accidents have happened during pickup and drop off. And that's in the heart of my district. That is right next door to the school I taught at for so many years. And next, my bathroom. How many public bathrooms are in the city? If possible, I would love data on a breakdown in borough, possible, or later time, and how many are needed. And I know there's barriers. We're going to work through those barriers for more public bathrooms. And has the administration considered reopening the bathrooms in the MTA? I know it's a lot of questions. I can always come back if that's okay with you, Chair. And how will we maintain them? Once we have them up and run, we do have to work around maintaining them, making sure they're safe and well-maintained bathrooms. That was a lot, sorry.
Yeah, we definitely understand the challenges around Newkirk Plaza, and I don't want to point the finger the other way. It is MTA property. We at DOT and other city agencies have stepped in to help clean the space. Regardless, but I think that's something we are also very interested in working out, so we'll continue to have those conversations.
Yeah. And then when it comes to improving safety around the school, recently, and I'm more than happy to follow with you and my team, Kyle, he's here from the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner, and the rest of my team here. Weeks ago, we announced that an initiative to focus on improving safety around the schools. We did it from Amsterdam and 190, but we have 100 of those locations that we have identified that are going to be also redesigning the surrounding area of the school. More than happy to follow with you to see if that corridor is part, and if not, if we also can include in there. So. And with the toilet, let's follow. You heard the breakdown that we gave about how many we have right now. We explained the challenge that we have. The breakdown each borough, let's follow with you with that information. And again, more than happy to work with you to not only around the bill and continue the discussing on the bill, but also if there's any particular need of any bathroom in your area that you think that we should be working with you, let us know.
Thank you. And the MTA bathrooms regarding reopening, maybe that's a conversation we can have with our colleagues in government, but I thought it was also important to reopen the bathrooms in the transit system upgrade them at least as well, and so they can also be available for use. Any?
Let's bring it to the MTA. If he's under there, and more than happy to, use our relationship that we have with them, and then also follow with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Am I introducing myself? Okay, so I'm temporarily taking over as chair. And I was actually next on the list anyway, but my questions are over there, so hold on one second.
Okay. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, Majority Whip, and also our awesome commissioner. So my question, just for background, is going to be framed mostly around the different silos, and I can definitely appreciate, because whether it's health or mental health, doesn't matter the topic. I think for me, my interest is always the intersectionality of the different agencies, whether it's city or state, and how we can sort of make inroads into getting certain things pushed forward. And for myself and my district, I'm all the way out in Eastern Queens, and my predecessor always made this joke that if you look on a subway map and you look at the key of the map, that's my district, because we have no railways. I'm one of the few districts that has no subways or no Long Island Railroad, so we do rely heavily on buses, cars, bike lanes, and in order to get around. And so, and this is all very much interconnected, and I know that the jurisdiction of these are sort of, in different areas. So I definitely appreciate and don't envy the position you guys are in to try to make all of this work in terms of the transportation of such a big city. But quick question, just going into that point, is for the MTA bus redesign process, because obviously that's not you guys, and I understand that. I know that they had their series of hearings, and so, since they've conducted those hearings in the public, have you been engaged in conversations? Do you know what the feedback is? Do you know what DOT's sort of role in that bus redesign is going to be? Because, if we're trying to get people, cars off the road, more people using public transportation, I think we need to make sure that, especially for parts like my area, that the buses are in fact and indeed working for the communities. And so I just wanted to see if you guys had any conversations after they've had those series of public hearings and testimony.
So the answer is yes. We do sit with the MTA, and we have a permanent a planning section when it comes to the future of the buses in the city of New York. Recently, we had a summit led by Mayor Eric Adams, the chairman of the MTA, Jano, myself, the mayors, and others, and we agree. We feel that, when it comes to especially communities that they don't have the best train line as anyone who lives here in Manhattan. You can be connected to the east, to the west, and going north or south, and you had a good train system. But in many communities, we don't have those things. And we know how expensive it is to build a lane for a train. So we are working with the MTA to be sure, again, that, the future of the buses is focused on safer, is focused on efficiencies. One of the things that we have seen is that in any of those areas that we have worked together with them around the bus lane, we have seen an increase of the efficiencies of those buses, but this is one of those areas that, as the MTA being an independent agency, more controlled by the governor, that I can say that we have more permanent planning together between the MTA and we at DOT.
Okay. And also, I think when they say efficiency, sometimes that can be misleading, because I know they cut a lot of the bus stops, but when we have so many elderly in our district, as well as just those that are disabled, I think that does cause problems, because then there's not as many places where they can get onto the bus. So I just wanted to put that point in there. And I know that every 5 years you're supposed to revisit the transportation master plan, and I appreciate the fact that you mentioned you guys have been reaching out to the community boards and the different council offices, and just out of curiosity, do you have, like, what's the feedback or sort of the results of those conversations that you've been getting back? And how is that going to be factored into some of the updates updating the transportation master plan?
Look, it is working together that we get results, the best results to our communities. And I can say that I'm happy to see new voices, new faces, new leadership. In some council districts in the past, they were not open to discuss issues related to transportation and push us off. And I think that, I can tell you my own example. I supported the bus lane at 181st with the opposition of most voices on North Manhattan, from elective to other sector who believe that by having the bus lane, their business will be hurt. And we prove that that was not the case. We show that, most New Yorkers rely on public transportation. More than 6 million of the 8.889 New Yorkers rely on train and buses and bike. So I feel, again, that we need to, work together with the council, the community board, advisory board. We will always get and take the feedback. At the end of the day, we need to take the feedback. We need to work with you as a council and here as the DOT and execute the best plan that we feel that will improve the best transportation system in each borough, especially in those communities that didn't get the same attention that other upper-class communities received in the past.
Okay. And it would be great, because I would love to work with you on the timeline of that, because I love data. I think it's super important, and so whatever information we can collect and then sort of report back on would be great. And sorry, Chair, if it's okay if I could ask a couple more questions? Okay. So as Chair of also the Mental Health, Disabilities, and Addiction Committee, one thing that I'm concerned about is the access for the disabled and elderly community in New York. And especially in districts like mine, we have a lot of retirees as well as folks that have ADLs and need assistance, and so and also who live in transit deserts. And so, how have you guys been, or how does the Transportation Master Plan account for those that are trying to get connected from where their residences are to different transportation hubs and making it more easily accessible?
Yeah, as you say, we have close to 1 million New Yorkers with physical challenges. And one of the biggest division that we have at DOT is the division of sidewalk that have around 850 individuals. That, we had the former chief of accessibility, Kemuel Arroyo, who now is the chief of accessibility for the MTA, great friend of mine, that did a lot of great job together with the rest of the team at DOT. So, what we are doing at DOT is to have a working around our plan to connect all New Yorkers with the best mode public transportation. And we're doing it through buses, we're doing it through trains, we're doing it to connect some community that they can be able to use the Metro North and expanding those Metro North. We are using with the macro mobility option that we have. But again, we will more than happy again to continue going back to your district and having conversation real. That is not only about here I go and I go back and and go around to do something different. I feel at the end of the day, Mayor Adams is committed to continue expanding the best community working relationship with each council member. This is what we're doing. Your voices is very important to work with us around what is the future of connecting New Yorkers. As you say, those who live in transportation deserts. I advocated for my community that I represented inward, where people had to travel an hour and a half in average to go to work. So I know that reality, and that's what I bring again. What I bring to DOT, as I said before, is not that I'm only the first Latino commissioner, but I'm the first working class commissioner. I'm the first non-native English speaking commissioner, but I also am a commissioner that have been living in the underserved community. So what is important for you constituency to connect it with a bus to go and take the train or the more transportation. This is something, again, that we will make a lot of progress, a lot of good work, sir.
Nice. And then, because the Interborough Expressway for the Bronx and Queens, that in Brooklyn, that still doesn't hit our side of Queens. And so whatever we can do also to bring folks, closer to the major transportation hubs would be great. And just real quick about the greenways, because I have two awesome parks, including, thank you so much for talking about the Joe Michael Miles and also the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway. And it's great to know that phase 2 has started because we've been getting a lot of questions on that. And so I just wanted to make sure, moving forward that, the conversations to include, if you could speak a little bit more in detail. I know that you guys have worked really closely with the community, but I think the concern we always hear is how do we make sure that the voices of the community and advocacy groups, which I know are here, as well as, the community boards are being reflected in all of these plans moving forward, because I think that there are so many greenways that need to get interconnected. And so I just want to make sure that there's a real concerted effort to make sure that we're bringing those different voices to the table.
Yeah, that's a top priority for me.
Yeah.
And this is something that those of you who know me, if you go back to reword, go backward to what I have said in this floor, I always have said that we need to have diversity in the voices. New York City is not the city that we have in the 1900 census. And I feel that those of us who really are committed to bring the voice of advocate, we need to bring nation. We need to bring Black. We need to bring Latino. We need to bring working class. Time is over for someone to be speaking on behalf of another group unless those groups are invited to be part of the conversation. So this is something that I had dedicated my whole life. And for me, this is about, when you look about the cyclist community, it's time in some places where you see cycling going in Midtown, there's no diversity in that community. And we have to be sure, and it's not because, lack of effort from the advocate, but this is about what is going on in the city of New York, that, getting into the bike has been seen more something of middle class and upper class. So this is, speaking to someone that we are in the same line of commitment. So what we will see again during my time as a commissioner, and the team here at DOT, they know, and everyone that I've been working with me know, it's about do we want to reflect the city of New York? Let's build that diversity at the level of advocate and the level of the community that we have. New York City today is 27% Latino, is 24% Afro-American, is 15% Asian. Those groups that were not there in the 1900s. And I think that under this administration, what we have seen again, administration that create the first in the nation, the Office of Ethnic and Community Media, where 30% of the education and advertising now must be used using our ethnic media. It will help for us to say in Mandarin, in Cantonese, in Spanish, in Creole, in other language, in those communities who doesn't speak the English, who English is not in their language, we will be also advertising, educating those communities, inviting those communities to think that we're doing it, and they will be part of those processes as we hold workshop and we plan the future transportation for the great city of New York.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Williams.
Hello. I have some questions on Intro 291. I guess they're somewhat of Councilmember Rivera's questions. So greenways can create and extend healthy open spaces into every corner of the city, aid with social distancing. Greenway construction and upgrades will create jobs that can take advantage of new federal infrastructure funding. Does the city currently have sufficient resources to conduct the necessary repairs and engineering solutions for our aged greenway infrastructure that this bill would identify?
I will let Sham to get into the detail, but I can say that, when it comes to resources, there's always, opportunity for us to identify new way of more resources. But, as you voted this budget and the council negotiated the budget with the administration, we know that, there's a ceiling. But when it comes to how we feel, having the additional $905 million that was added on from Mayor Adams to DOT, having DOT increase of 13% on our budget, we feel that we have the necessary resources that we need in order to do our job.
Yeah, and I would say a large chunk of that money that the commissioner just mentioned is going toward building new greenway segments in the city. It's a huge undertaking. The greenway, the gaps that remain in our greenway network are challenging locations that will require a lot of planning and conversations with the community members to identify the best way to fill those gaps, and then working with our grants and budget teams, how we can capitalize on those newly available federal dollars to really go after monies to further build out those gaps. So our RAISE grant that we're asking $7.25 million to from that federal bill will help us identify those gaps. It's a start in really identifying where we need to be pouring our resources and asking for more resources to fill the gaps.
Thank you. What are the challenges that DOT currently faces when seeking to communicate with relevant jurisdictions such as New York State Department of Transportation, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and Greenway-specific institutions such as the Hudson River Park Trust?
We have good relationship with all those agencies, and I feel that in institution, we feel that, especially these days, there's a new, more positive relationship between Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams that also translate into a better, more level of coordination. So, of course, we always, again, have challenges. Not challenge, we always want to continue identifying different way of how to, create mechanism to exchange idea, to plan together. But I feel, the New York City DOT have permanent conversation when it comes to a project that we're doing, collaborating information on how we build bridges, how we apply for grants. So I can say that we don't have, I cannot talk about any negative experience about how we coordinate together with other agencies.
Okay, and I know Intro 291 would essentially compel you to look at additional greenway spaces, and it seems that you've already been doing work prior to this bill. So do you have like a strategy timeline for really like assessing, or are you just going to like wait for this bill to pass to create a plan? Like, I feel like you guys seem to have somewhat of a plan already. So do you have like a timeline? Because I'm trying to figure out how to assert myself into this timeline as it pertains to my council district.
Sure, yeah, you're right. We're not waiting around for the RAISE grant to come to us. Hopefully we get it. And I think a lot of council members have written letters of support toward us getting that foundation or that funding, so we appreciate that. Destination Greenways is a really good example of our next step in how the city's working to fill those gaps. We've been talking a lot to a lot of Greenway advocates, some of whom are in the room today, especially in the Bronx as a place that we want to be focusing next, but we are open to hearing. Part of our next steps is to identify maybe 5 key gap areas and 5 large study areas where we want to focus. So if any of those gaps are...
Do you have a timeline for that? Like when you identify those areas?
Yeah, so if we go down the timeline of the grant process, that would be something that starts in hopefully the fall and would take about a year to identify. We have some thoughts up front that we're working on, and we're definitely open to hearing those now from you if there's locations in your district.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you the locations. And just one more thing is, just because I have the privilege of talking to you right now on the record, for you to really consider shortening the bus lane pilot study on Jamaica Avenue. And I'll just leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for bringing up Jamaica Avenue. That's a big problem in Southeast Queens. It's all 4 lanes, and people cannot access our local businesses.
More than happy to follow conversation with you. As you say, as I said before, in order for us to continue reimagining the way of how we connect New Yorkers who live in underserved communities, those that doesn't have access to the train. Our buses are for many of them, the only resources that they have. We also know that we have to, here, sometimes, we can work around the time, that bus lane go up to 10 p.m., go to 8 p.m., but I feel that, definitely when you look on the need to have more bus lane across the 5 borough, this is the only resources that we have to connect those communities.
I think the issue is that the study is set for a year, and I just don't think you need a year to make your assessment. So the bus lanes are already taking place. It's already been 6 months plus. I don't think that the agency needs a full year to make a determination. And another thing that I have an issue, and I guess it's a question and or a statement, is a lot of times when DOT is actually going out to survey and ask questions, they're not asking specific questions to other built-in environments. They are only asking targeted questions to bus riders, which I get is the priority, but there is no assessment on the impact of the bus lane to the businesses that are along the corridors and other people that actually drive into the area. I know I'm going to be a broken record and probably will be sort of tagged as this on the council, but my community is a car community. I am happy to look at other modes of transportation. I'm a huge proponent of micromobility and trying to figure out ways actually to get more bike lanes and other sort of modes of transportation and improving the fact that we are a transit desert, but we are a car community. And so my fear is that there's only one metric of success for the bus lane and not looking comprehensively as to how it's actually impacting the community.
More than happy to continue conversation with you and even, walking through your district. And, I have done in a number of council districts. And for me, this is, again, the mandate I have from Mayor Adams to be sure that we connect with each council member, especially walking around the district and see what are the needs. So let's follow.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I know you're short for time. I just asked if we can have our final council member ask questions, Council Member Amanda Farias.
I was going to say, Commissioner, you have to let me ask questions.
Of course.
No, I appreciate it, and I will be quick. I just first want to state thank you to Chair Sylvina Brooks Powers for asking the questions regarding the Harlem River Greenway and questions around waterfront access in the Bronx. As you know, I'm a peninsula in my district, and we have a waterfront community that folks need more access to, and I want to be a partner in figuring out how we can do that. I want to ask some questions around open streets, if possible, regarding specifically how the role of local partners are at play in planning and operating the open streets, and also the operated SBS program or grant opportunity of $50,000 used for it. I have a new bid, our first bid in my community that has come to the Castle Hill community, and we don't have an open street there yet, but we do want to see a robust bid, and we want to see them working with you folks in that partnership. I also am receiving an open street, but have not received a timeline on start or end date, which is a little concerning for me, on Taylor Avenue between Story and Lafayette in the southeast portion of the Bronx. And so I just want to get a better idea of how we're at play with including partners and planning and decision-making, maintenance, how are bids included, things like that. And if I have any follow-up, I'll try to be short.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, this year, New York City has the largest open streets program in the country, and different from the type of open street that we did it during COVID 2020, which was more, putting barricades and closing some of those streets because New Yorkers needed more space to walk during COVID. This time around, what we have is all open street. They have programming related to art, cultural, educational. This year, we have 159 locations citywide, 21 new. That in total cover over 300 city blocks that are set to open for New Yorkers to enjoy. The 2020 program will prioritize equity with a specific focus on providing resources in the priority investment areas identified by the New York City Street Plan that we passed at the council. and we will be announcing additional location this summer. We want more. We want partnership. We want to be sure that, in some cases we can run it from DOT perspective with the resources. In other cases, each communities are different. And we are more than happy to work with each of you to see which one fulfill the need of those communities, but the support will be, we have the resources to support those open streets in any council member.
We're actually doing a walkthrough with the new bid coming up. They've applied. They are interested in a lot of different things, so we're going to walk through with them and see what we have to offer for them.
Please include me in that, just because that area primarily is one of our largest commercial strips. There's a lot of traffic. It's a major busway, major, minor, and truck routes. Lots of last mile logistics that happen, and so I'd love to be included in that and figure out ways to be supportive. And I guess just a follow up around the plan on replacing movable lightweight barriers with higher quality, safer objects for open streets. The open street that I'm getting on Taylor Avenue is adjacent to a park and the back part of a mall. And so it's just a regular street. And so I'm just trying to better understand, is there a partnership with the local organization, or are you folks gonna come out and remove those barriers, or what kind of open street, what's it going to look like, and what does it mean to keep those hours and bring it back to normal on a regular day?
Yeah, I'm not totally familiar with this application, so that's something I can find out, but it is a range. Either we'll be doing it with our Horticultural Society contract, or if the partner has capacity, we would ask them to do it. So I'm not sure exactly where it falls in that range, but there is definitely a range, and we can find out more details.
Okay, great.
And Councilmember, at DOT, we have a lot of respect for the new leadership that you have brought to your districts and your commitment to promote public transportation and new innovation. So whatever we're doing in your districts, we definitely will be also bringing on board to be part of that conversation.
Absolutely. We have a great partnership. Thank you. Looking forward to the open streets, looking forward to open greenways. We need more of that in communities of color. So thank you for coming today and testifying. And thank you, Chair, for giving me time to ask questions.
Now we will turn to public comments. We will ask that the public keep their comments to no more than 2 minutes, and I will kick it over to the committee council.
And before Elio, I would say thank you to Elio for all those years that he helped me as my previous role. I know that he's doing a great job, and to Shima back there. So thank you guys also for, continue serving the city. And to the advocates, your voices are very important. And I really mean it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn to public testimony. Each panelist will be given 2 minutes to speak. Please begin once the sergeant has started the timer. For panelists testifying in person, please come to the table as your name is called and wait for your turn to speak. For panelists who are testifying remotely, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the sergeant at arms will give you the go-ahead to begin on setting the timer. Please wait for the sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. First.
But we will have representatives from DOT in the room to be sure that if anyone testifies, they know that we're going to be following the testimony. Thank you.
Carlos Castel-Croke, Laura Shepard, Theodora Siegel, and Joby Jacob.
Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Castel-Croke. I'm the Associate for New York City Programs at the New York League of Conservation Voters. NYLCV represents over 30,000 members in New York City, and we are committed to advancing a sustainability agenda that will make our people, our neighborhoods, and our economy healthier and more resilient. I'd like to thank the Chair, Brooks Powers, for the opportunity to testify today. In a densely populated city like New York, access to affordable, clean transportation is more than an economic driver and hard sought-after resource. It is a fundamental right. We know that transportation is a leading source of emissions in the state and in the nation, mainly due to personal automobiles and heavy-duty vehicles burning fossil fuels. Furthermore, our frequent acceptance and perpetuation of car culture constantly undermines the safety of pedestrians and effectiveness of alternative forms of transportation. In order to effectively fight climate change and protect public health, we need to reimagine how people live and move in the city. An undeniable crucial part of that will be creating an interconnected greenway system that provides people with safe, low-emission passage throughout the boroughs while providing numerous other environmental benefits through green infrastructure. NYSCV therefore supports Introduction 291 to create a greenway master plan. Greenways connect parks and open spaces, easily providing access to these resources for communities that can't walk to them. Green infrastructure also along these paths also helps to fight the urban heat island effect and absorb stormwater. However, our greenways now are disjointed and unfinished. A master plan can help to get us back on track and build a truly interconnected network. Lastly, I just want to add that NYCDOT has already applied to a federal RAISE grant for a greenways expansion plan, and we really support this application, hope they receive it to work in partnership with this legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Shepard, Queens Organizer with Transportation Alternatives. Thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, for convening this hearing. Today's bills will work to make our public space more inclusive, accessible, and sustainable for New Yorkers. For nearly 50 years, TA has fought for safe, equitable, and livable streets in New York City. Coming out of the pandemic, we need to re-examine how we use our public space to serve our communities. New Yorkers are calling for public spaces that serve people, not just moving and storing cars. If we convert just 1/4 of current car space into space for people, every New Yorker could live within a 1/4 mile of a protected bus lane, protected bike lane, and public green space, the vision of TA's New York City 25 by 25 campaign. Better use of streets and waterways can reduce car emissions, clean the air, and improve public health. We must prioritize Black and brown neighborhoods that have been under-resourced and underinvested in for decades. TA strongly supports Intro 291 to build a public greenway network, connecting all 5 boroughs to increase public access to our waterfront and connect our communities. Greenways provide significant infrastructure benefits. They create jobs, safer travel options, provide flood protection and outdoor space, and improve air quality and public health outcomes. However, significant gaps must be filled to create an equitable greenway network. The current piecemeal approach has been slow, inequitable, and resulted in substandard sections. Plans have existed on paper for greenways such as in Southeast Queens, but never come to fruition. 100 miles of dedicated space still need to be developed with robust community engagement, and upgrades and connectors are needed throughout the network. In some areas, families cannot safely access nearby parkland without a car because of the lack of continuous connections. No one should have to dodge speeding cars on a highway on-off ramp to access parks and greenways, as too many residents do now, especially in Queens. Plans to close gaps and expand greenways must also include strong community partnerships. It is critical that frontline communities most impacted by flooding and air pollution from environmental abuse lead the way on local resiliency and transportation planning. We also support Chair Stevens' Intro 293 and Chair Joseph's Intro 258. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Teddy Siegel, and I'm the creator of Got2Go NYC, where I document sanitary and accessible bathrooms throughout all 5 boroughs. And I'm here today to not only speak on my beliefs, but as a representative of my Got2Go NYC community, which currently has a cumulative of over 150,000 followers across all social media platforms. I have learned from my followers that the issue at hand is twofold. As well as being a public health crisis, the lack of sanitary, accessible, and public New York City bathrooms is an equity crisis. Marginalized groups are bearing the brunt of the city's failures. In February of this year, a man commented on my page, "As a Black man who does deliveries at night, I don't even bother trying at this point. I understand that as a cis, white, straight woman, my appearance gives me an inherent privilege. I can walk into most hotels and use their lobby bathroom without being questioned or told to leave. This is not the case for the majority of New Yorkers. I've had the privilege of speaking with a homeless couple who were denied the bathroom code to a cafe based on their appearance, even after offering to buy a drink with their limited funds. This is New York City. Why are we ranked 93rd in the nation when it comes to bathrooms per capita? Why was a 27-year-old New York City resident forced to bleed through her pants in a CVS while holding a box of tampons she bought, begging to use the restroom? Why does a 22-year-old camp counselor at Prospect Park have no choice but to change children in a bathroom where human feces was smeared on the walls and floors for days on end, despite having reported it to the Parks Department? Why did a tourist from London have to witness her elderly friend wet herself because they couldn't find an accessible restroom in time? While this bill is only one tiny step in the right direction to fix this issue, I believe that it could positively impact the lives of millions. It is of the utmost importance for New Yorkers and tourists alike to know where to go without needing to take out their wallet.
Thank you for that. I know I can speak firsthand at how crucial in those moments they are. So thank you for advocating. I don't think some people realize how important the conversation is.
Jacob, and I'm an associate professor of biology at LaGuardia Community College and co-founder of both the Motor Parkway East and Eastern Queens Greenway advocacy groups, here to speak in favor of a new master plan. In Eastern Queens, we have a lot of high-quality trails like the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway and Joe Michaels Mile. These trails are part of a contiguous emerald ribbon of parks that stretch across Queens. Plans to fill in the gaps between the trails have existed since the 70s, but nothing was done, so Greenway users had to mix with traffic. My friends and I have been advocating to fill in those gaps to create a continuous 12-mile trail system that better connects our communities. We've filled in some of these gaps with protected bike lanes and through the Destination Greenways program, and thanks to funding allocated by the mayor and the council this budget cycle, we're closer than ever to our vision for a family-safe, car-free path from the Unisphere to the end of the trail in Little Bay Park. But there are more connections needed. I petition on our greenways, and we run into people from all over the city. In the past few weeks, I ran into folks from Glen Oaks, Cambria Heights, Jackson Heights, and Manhattan, all areas that should have had greenway access by now, who came to ride our trails, but there's no safe way to get to those trails from those places yet. I want to highlight the Destination Greenways process. The process brought together DOT, parks, electeds, community boards, activists, and the public to figure out a consensus on how to fill in those gaps. What the city released in 1993 is a fine framework, but to my knowledge, these master plans just sat on a shelf. We need a new plan and a commitment to see it through. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we will hear from Neil Wiseman, Sarah Lind, Miriam Dawn Tab, and Daniel Renels.
I'm Public Relations Director for New York Cycle Club, for whom I have organized 1,000 rides. I'm here to speak in support of Intros 291 and 258 to introduce Grayways, a proposal which calls on Transportation and Parks and Recreation to designate 500 miles of recreational bikeways to connect city parks. My extended remarks is a one-pager, which you have. The full proposal includes 18 routes with GPS directions and maps, totaling 600 miles. They span the 5 boroughs, and they comprise existing bikeways, quiet residential streets, and commercial areas that are empty on weekends. They feature neighborhood food stops and points of interest. The first iteration of the network can be implemented quickly and cheaply by hosting GPS data on city websites. The immediate beneficiaries are the hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers that are already comfortable riding in traffic, and neighborhood food stops that see a surge in tourism. As the routes are upgraded with safety improvements, greater numbers of New Yorkers will take advantage. And because twice as many people bike for recreation as transportation, a network that embodies that will grow the constituency twice as fast. And you still get the connectivity, the equity, and the resilience and sustainability. The Grayways tie-in with Intro 258 is obvious. Yes, you want beautiful roads and unique destinations, but you must ensure that there are adequate rest stops, because you can't assemble a UN-powered transportation grid without providing places to go. For this reason, Grayways routes past parks and playgrounds at regular intervals to ensure that their network has good coverage. Grayways has the support of 16 cycling organizations representing thousands of cyclists. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, for holding this hearing. My name is Sarah Lind. I'm the Director of Policy at Open Plans, a nonprofit focused on creating a more livable city. All of the bills presented today will help further our vision of a city where the streets, sidewalks, and other public spaces are safe, accessible, and joyful, and where every neighborhood has equitable access to services and programming. Intro 291, calling for a citywide Greenway master plan, is a critical step in providing every neighborhood with the opportunity for active transport that is safe and sustainable. A truly connected Greenways network will enable so many more people to utilize these wonderful spaces. Similarly, we support Intro 258 because public bathrooms are an equity issue and will allow people to move around our city freely without needing to worry about where they can use the restroom. We would, however, encourage the city to move more expeditiously on these projects, and rather than taking years to create reports, we urge the city to act now. We're also enthusiastic about CM Stevens' bill, Intro 293, to allow community organizations to use curbside space for programming and activities. We know that this space can be put to amazing use by institutions such as these and have enormous public benefit, helping to build community, provide outdoor space for play and gathering, and so much more. None of this is possible when that space is used for the free storage of private cars. On the topic of public space management, our city is essentially not doing it right now. I have seen too many public safety improvements, such as bollards at dangerous intersections or curb extensions, denied because the community could not provide a private maintenance partner. Safety improvements to the city's public space should not require a private partner. An Office of Public Space Management, such as Open Plans has proposed, could solve this problem. Such an office could also address the current systemic discrimination against pedestrians that was created under former Mayor Bloomberg when he privatized the maintenance of sidewalks. Sidewalks are public space, and the city should be responsible for clearing snow, fixing cracks, and otherwise maintaining these spaces just as they do for our streets. This is an equity issue, an accessibility issue, and a safety issue.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Miriam Dontab. I am the director of the Friends of Mill Pond Park, and I am also a television host for a show on BronxNet Television called Uptown NYC, where we highlight culture, cuisine, and other good stuff that happens in the Bronx. My reason for being here today is to ask you to please move forward with the Greenway Master Plan. It is something I feel that has been overlooked when I go through other, and pardon me for being emotional, when I ride along the West Side Highway, and we don't have what they have, although we've been asking you over and over again whether it was you as an individual, as a person of color. Not only do we need this, but we deserve this to better our health care, to bring families together. Not having green space is also a form of dividing us from having outings. So I ask you to please move forward with this and move forward with this bill to make sure that we have the green space, the piers, the walkways, to roller skate, to just move forward with being included. We have been overlooked too long. And include us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that and for elevating the inequities that continue to persist. And I'm looking forward to the day that we pass this legislation. So thank you.
And so do I. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hi, my name is Daniel Reynolds. I'm representing the Bronx River Alliance here today. I'm a lifelong New York City resident. I've lived in the Bronx for about 20 years now, and I'm the director of programs at the Bronx River Alliance. We have a couple advocacy teams, the Greenway team and the Ecology team, that I'm here voicing support of a Greenways master plan. We do applaud New York City DOT. They've had bicycle working groups that have done community outreach and included a lot of Bronx folks. As you heard, the Bronx mentioned a lot today. We're a service to protect, restore, and improve the communities and the natural environment. And while we've benefited a lot from federal funding and federal collaboration, we don't see that people can't get to the Bronx River Greenway and waterways. So we're wholeheartedly in support of connecting every part of this in terms of the destination greenways. That sounds amazing. We're an environmental organization, so this is also about critical climate resiliency infrastructure. We need this. We need to maintain rain gardens. We need to manage our combined sewage overflow. It's all related, and we can solve multiple problems with the greenways, like the Tibbetts Brook daylighting. And definitely in support of public bathrooms. We work closely with parks, and our conservation crew has to deal with the impacts of not having public bathrooms accessible. We're also very much in support of what's been said as a director of the public realm. So we would ask that there be a holistic view of all these public spaces. So we thank you for having this hearing and for allowing us to speak.
Thank you. And before we move on, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the Children's Aid Shadow Day participants up in the balcony area. Welcome to the New York City Council. We hope you're enjoying yourself watching today's hearing on the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. So welcome.
Okay, next we will hear from Michael Case, Chauncey Young, Chris Sanders, and Robert Fanuzzi.
Hello, my name is Michael Cass. I'm a cyclist from the East Bronx, and I volunteer for the Friends of Hutchinson River Greenway. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Today, I'm speaking in support of Intro 291, the citywide Greenway Master Plan, which will require DOT and the Parks Department to develop a master plan for the city's greenways. As a cyclist in the Bronx, I rely on the Pelham Parkway, Mosholu Parkway, and Hutchinson River Greenways to quickly get from one corner of the Bronx to the other. That's how I'm able to quickly show up when our elected officials hold events in the Bronx. But there are parts of the Bronx which do not have easy access to greenways, or where there are significant gaps. There is so much potential in the Bronx, and I believe it is not too far off that riders will be one day able to bike from Manhattan to Westchester almost entirely on greenways. I believe a citywide greenway master plan will keep long-delayed projects on the radar and on track. I think we heard today about a project at East 177th Street and DeVoe Avenue that has been fully funded to fill gaps in the Bronx River Greenway. This is an example of a project that had been long delayed and sometimes felt forgotten for years at a time. A master plan will keep DOT and other agencies accountable. Along the Harlem River, there is so much potential for a complete greenway, but we need a master plan to ensure that there is a coherent vision as the waterfront is developed. So to keep my remarks brief, I urge the entire Bronx delegation and the City Council to support this legislation. Greenways are a lifeline for our city, and we should plan like it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Brooke Powers and the New York City Council members. I'm presenting today on behalf of the Harlem River Working Group, a member organization of the New York City's Greenway Coalition. The Harlem River Working Group was formed in 2009 and represents over 50 community groups, park advocacy groups, community board representatives, and elected officials throughout the Bronx along the Harlem River. And many of our partner organizations have been organizing to connect the neighborhood to their riverfront for over 3 decades. The Harlem River Working Group and many other Greenway and Parks advocacy groups formed the New York City Greenway Coalition in conjunction with Brooklyn Greenway Initiative because we needed an expanded Greenway network for New York City. And because for us, the Bronx and many other less affluent communities throughout New York City have not benefited from the same level of parks and greenway infrastructure throughout New York City. We hope by standing united that we'll be able to address this. The example shared today, destination greenways, the Harlem River Working Group, the Harlem River was included in that, but was removed because it was seen as too complicated. But in the time of the working group, we've seen that we've lost huge portions of the waterfront that were once public property have been sold to public land. At the same time, Mayor de Blasio committed nearly $1 billion to redo the entire Manhattan waterfront. We lost 4 acres of parkland when de Blasio turned that future parkland of Mill Pond Park into low-income, moderate-income housing. It includes the Hip Hop Museum, which we're happy about, but we shouldn't have lost 4 acres of parkland to get that, and we haven't gotten it back. We also lost 30 acres of parkland that was sold from CXX to a private developer that is a friend of ours. Can I use a few more moments? A friend of ours, Dynamic Star, and wants to see the Greenway happen, but that could have been public parkland, and that is what the community wanted to see that property for decades. What we'd like to see is we'd like to see a complete network that would include all the greenways throughout the Bronx, as was mentioned earlier, and would connect New York City to the Bronx, to the rest of New York City. The Empire States Trail, which is the key trail for New York State, runs through the Bronx, but instead of taking the Putnam line, which Parks mentioned, and taking the Harlem River Greenway, which would create a separate off-street system, it just jumps through the Bronx, as many projects do, to get to the Hudson River Greenway. So putting development into the Putnam Greenway is really essential, into the Harlem River Greenway. The Bronx, the question that you asked, the Bronx has access to less than 50% of their waterfront, while the rest of the boroughs is over 70%. That was New York City Planning Department. They shared that in a meeting just recently. We have the least access. There's actually 0 on-water recreation activities for the Bronx along the Harlem River. It used to be the center of recreational space along the waterfront. There were over 50 boathouses prior to our friend Robert Moses building the Harlem River Drive and the Deegan Expressway. There were over 50 boathouses, the heart of recreational space in the city. We've lost that now. All these were part of the original Greenway Plan. We really support your master Greenway Plan bill because it's not only updating that Greenway to include changes, but also to hold the city accountable and to update the progress and development and to show the equity where the Bronx has been left out for decades. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, City Council, and thank you, Chairwoman Brooks Powers. My name is Chris Sanders, and I am a Harlem volunteer with Transalt, the organization who tries to create green transportation and infrastructure in New York City. And the reason I'm here today is because I wanted to lend a Black voice to supporting the Harlem, Bronx, all of the greenways, and I believe that's Bill 291. And I noticed that when I'm traveling along the Hudson Greenway on the west side, it's beautiful when you go past, like, when you go down toward past 72nd Street. But above 72nd Street, it's crumbled, things are, you know, it's kind of janky, destroyed. And on the east side, you can't even really use it at all. So, you know, I would love to see that built out because, you know, I can't go over there right now. And especially during the summer, I like to use my bike for transportation instead of, like, you know, the train or the bus or my car. And I don't always feel comfortable with it because we have no protective bike lanes in Harlem at all, and in the Bronx. Whoa, I mean, they don't get anything. They get even less than Harlem, and we don't get anything. Community Board 2 makes sure of that, or Community Board 10 makes sure of that. You know, I want to support efforts to bring Harlem and the Bronx up to speed on the latest green transportation infrastructure, like the Central Harlem Bikeway and the Greenway Master Plan. Additionally, I also support public bathrooms all over New York City, as I've had my own issues, and then also open streets near school. That is 293. Althea Stevens brought that up earlier. So, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm Robert Fanuzzi. I'm president of the Bronx Council Environmental Quality and all-volunteer environmental organization, and we're here to speak in favor of 291. The Bronx Council played a leading role in the first Bronx Greenway Master Plan, also commissioned in 1993. Nearly 30 years in, we can speak with authority about the environmental and civic needs for 291. BCQ members sat on the first Bronx Greenway Plan in 1993 and its update in 2007. They led efforts to clean up the Bronx River, now the Bronx River Greenway. We know from firsthand experience the environmental, recreational, and transportation benefits that building greenways bring. Building greenways, green greenways with zero discharge and green infrastructure built in is a foundation of our citywide sustainability, resilience, non-coastal flooding, mitigation, water quality, and park management. And I would add, as a recommendation to this bill, to include green infrastructure in greenway planning, because as I know from my experience leading the fight for the Putnam Greenway and daylighting, greenway planning and greenway funding is rarely a straight line. You actually have to go through agencies that serve one of the many co-benefits I just listed to greenway planning. So this bill really should be looking for multiple sources of funding and project leadership, in addition to the two leads DPR and DOT mentioned. Now, the Bronx side of the Harlem River is the next frontier of greenway planning, but time is running out. BCQ was the lead in getting the Bronx side of the Harlem River designated as a brownfield opportunity area from the state of New York, with plans for a continuous greenway. May I continue?
Yes, but please briefly, we have a whole crew of folks online.
Yeah, 20 years into this effort, we're concerned. The Harlem River Greenway is growing in fits and starts. There are, every day, we make phone calls to multiple city agencies, state and federal, about the overlapping jurisdictions. There is also a leadership of open space planning along the Harlem River waterfront, and it's not city agencies, it's private developers. As my colleague Chauncey mentioned, we are seeing acres of waterfront being turned into non-connected, non-greenway open space requirement from DCP, Bloomberg-era DCP zoning. It's a huge loss for the Bronx side of the Harlem River. I will not improve upon the stirring cry for equity that everyone here has made. I will only say that our organization is one of many who have toiled for decades, in our case 30 years, for integrated synergistic greenway planning. We do have plans from Columbia, from MIT. We've chartered our own plans. I urge passage of this with the proviso that not only community boards be consulted, but also community organizations, and that they play an active role in planning alongside city agencies, because we have been out in front of the city for 30 years now. We really need you to listen to communities and the desired pathways that they've already created and just need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we move to our online folks testifying, we ask that you each please respect the 2-minute timeline so that we can allow everyone to express themselves. Thank you.
Okay, next we will hear from Kevin Jones, and Kevin will be followed by Glenn Belofsky and Eric McClure. Kevin?
Time starts now.
Good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers and members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Kevin Jones. I'm the Associate State Director for Advocacy at AARP New York, representing 750,000 members of the 50-plus community in New York City. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to testify at today's oversight hearing to discuss the city's public spaces and Greenway Master Plan. Older adults represent the city's fastest growing demographic. The 65-plus age group is growing 12 times faster than the under 65 population. Given this reality, the city should pay significant attention to the needs of older adults in the planning and management of public spaces. Our older adult population built this city and made it great, and we owe it to them to make it a great city for them to live in as they age. Green spaces are key to a livable city that supports aging in place, and livable cities go hand in hand with being age-friendly. The ARP has long supported and pushed for livable communities, which includes safe, walkable streets, a healthy environment, opportunities for residents of all ages to participate in community life, and more. We published a livability index by neighborhood, and if you're curious how your neighborhood stacks up, you can look it up on our Blueprint for Action, which we sent to all the council offices earlier this year. Or you can find it on aarp.org/ny. While green spaces are vital for livability, improving physical health, increasing life expectancy, improving mental health, and the environment, very few older adults can access these spaces. In a 2014 study of 174 neighborhood parks in 25 major U.S. cities found that although older adults age 60 and over account for 20% of the general population, they represent only 4% of total park users. Mobility issues can have a lot to do with that. According to a 2015 National Health and Aging Trends study, 16% of seniors use a cane, 11.6% use walkers, about 6% use wheelchairs, and 2.3% rely on scooters. Improving mobility access
Time expired.
and ensuring proper maintenance of paths will encourage more adults, especially those with mobility issues, to utilize greener spaces. Any master plan should reflect the needs of the community as the city moves forward with the Greenway Master Plan, and consideration of these needs of older adults should be paramount. The plan should not only follow existing ADA and NYC disability laws, but also create an age-friendly environment.
Thank
you for giving me the
you.
opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much.
Next, we'll hear from Glenn Belofsky, and Glenn will be followed by Eric McClure and Thomas Matuzis.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon, Majority Whip and council members and central staff. Hope everybody's doing well today. Exciting meeting today, learned a lot. I want to thank everybody for that. I'd like to talk about bus lanes and the usefulness of the bus lanes, especially the new ones that DOT just introduced in the Bronx that we all know are much needed and long awaited. As we have in Jamaica, Queens, and as we have in many areas where there's a transportation desert, we're giving discounts still, even more discounts this year than last year for people who are illegally parking and blocking bus lanes throughout the city. And I know Majority Whip and Finance Chair Justin Brennan had asked and inquired with the Department of Finance as to the logic behind this. I was wondering if the council had any responses yet from the Department of Finance.
Glenn, I'm sorry, if you could just repeat that last question.
Oh, sure, no problem. So thank you for the time, Majority Whip. Yes, we were just simply saying that there's new bus lanes announced in the Bronx recently, long overdue, and greatly appreciated by the residents and the council members who represent those different districts. But whether it be in the Bronx, in Westchester Square, or in Jamaica, or in other transportation deserts throughout our great city, we all know that the Department of Finance saw fit to increase parking ticket discounts for people blocking those bus lanes in the stipulated fine programs, even greater discounts this year than prior years. And I know this committee and the Finance Committee jointly wrote a letter to the Department of Finance inquiring as to their logic and the gravity of the situation as to why they would do that. I was wondering if anyone got a response.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I missed that. But yes, we did receive a response. We can share that with you offline, though. I'll have Alex send it to you.
Thank you, Majority Whip.
Thank you.
Nice
It's always great seeing you, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will hear from Eric McClure. Eric will be followed by Thomas Matuzas and Nabil Khatri.
Time starts now.
Thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, Councilmember Farias, for your stamina, sticking around to hear us out. Apologies if my cat walks back and forth. It's getting close to dinner time for them. So, Streets PAC is strongly supportive of this committee's assessing of the large and crucial task of managing the city's public space. Welcoming, dynamic, easily accessed, and equitable public space is critical to the health of New York City and its citizens, and we believe the creation of a high-level entity within city government to coordinate and manage the city's public spaces is urgently necessary. The pandemic has underscored just how important access to open space is to New Yorkers and just how immensely popular and good for business welcoming, strollable, and sittable areas are across communities. We urge this committee and the full council to prioritize improvement in the city's management of public space. As to the three bills before the committee today, we support all of them. Intro 291, which would require creation of a citywide Greenway master plan, is long overdue. The last Greenway plan was done in 1993, and while some advances have been made toward creating a connected network of paths crisscrossing all 5 boroughs, it hardly resembles a robust network. Large gaps persist, many existing segments have been poorly maintained, and the environmental justice communities that need these Greenway segments most have seen the least progress. As New York City's population grows, more and more people seek opportunities for active recreation, and the number of people commuting by bicycle booms, demand for Greenway access will continue to rise. An updated master plan will build public support and provide a roadmap for the significant amount of federal funds now available for these types of projects. We support Bike New York's suggested amendments to the bill, including the need to address the use of electric assist bikes and other small electric vehicles, highlighting agency jurisdictions and including specific detour provisions when construction or maintenance necessitates temporary closure of a Greenway segment. We, along with our many partners in the NYC Greenway Coalition, urge passage of Intro 291 out of committee and to a quick support of full vote by the council. We also support Intro 258, which would facilitate the creation of more public restroom facilities across the city. New York City trails far behind most peer cities in providing ready access to clean, safe public
Time
restrooms.
expired.
This bill will require identification of suitable restroom locations in every neighborhood. Access to restrooms is an equity, health, and sanitation issue, and it's inexcusable that we haven't done at least what other leading cities have in providing such facilities. At the same time, we strongly urge the MTA to open all closed restroom facilities in the transit system.
Thank you so much.
Lastly, in the interest of time, I'll just say that we also support Intro 293, and again, grateful for the opportunity to testify.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you. And next, we just again ask folks to please respect the 2-minute timeline. We do have another member of the public in person that we'd like to hear from also, so we're just trying to be able to accommodate everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we'll have Thomas Matuzas, followed by Nabil Khatri and Osindi Garcia.
Time starts now.
Greetings today, Chair Brooks Powers and the New York City Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with each of you today. My name is Tom Matuzas, resident of the Blissville section of Long Island City, Queens, secretary with the Blissville Civic Association, and co-chair of the Transportation Committee of Community Board 2 of Queens. My family has called Blissville home since 1907. Our community of Blissville, Long Island City is part of the 1% of New Yorkers who do not have access to green space parks or playgrounds. We are part of New York City who must travel greater than 15 minutes to get to green space. In fact, the one area that served as our park, a small triangle sandlot that I played in as a child, was taken from us by DOT and now stores vehicles and equipment owned by DOT. More land in Blissville has been recently taken by DOT for storage of equipment, despite our cries for green space. New York City found our community an excellent site to host 3 homeless shelters, all of whom we've welcomed with open arms. Yet, despite our cries for infrastructure improvements, we've seen none. Blissville section of Long Island City has not been the recipients of awards despite sharing the same zip code as Long Island City. In fact, we have none of the amenities that the other Long Island City has. In District 26, I've calculated 50 million awarded to green space over the last 4 years. We have seen 500,000. The 500,000 was awarded to us by our prior councilman after a 10-year fight with DOT to restore our century-old Veterans Memorial that sits on land owned by DOT. DOT Commissioner, the DOT you spoke of today, I do not know. Forgive me. New York City Parks, thank you. Last week, we saw the final plans for the restoration of our Veterans Memorial, and you did a fine job. Thank you. We only ask that you speed up the delivery. Today, we support testify in respect to 291, and we come before you to ask for support for the specific inclusion of the Blissville Greenway. And in the interest of time, we were awarded a number by DOT 484-255 K7Q6 2 years ago, and have heard nothing since. We asked for the commissioner, the chair, and this team to look into. We want respectfully the Blissville Greenway to be included in the master plan. Our Greenway will connect the Kosciuszko Bridge to the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge to the Pulaski Bridge, connecting 3 of the gateways between Brooklyn and Queens.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We need you to wrap up, and please make sure to submit that through written testimony.
Yes, I'll submit the entire written testimony. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we'll hear from Nabil Khatri, who will be followed by Osindi Garcia and then Tyler Taba.
Time starts now.
Hi, my name is Nabil Ahmed Khatri. I live in Flushing, Queens. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'll keep it short. I'm expressing support for Intro 291, the Greenways bill. I would like to also emphasize that it's important to build safe connections to this greenway. Imagine the New York City highway and there was no way to get a car to the highway. The highway wouldn't be used. It would be a waste of money. The same applies here. We can build the greenways, but we need good connections from different neighborhoods. I also support previous comments that urges the Parks Department to make their laws on e-bikes more consistent with New York City laws. E-bikes are a great way to give access to people of different abilities and ages to our Greenway network. And the last comment is during the implementation stage, space will need to be reclaimed from cars. There's no way to build this Greenway network without reclaiming space from cars. And I urge the city not to compromise too much when it comes to prioritizing cars over people. I think this bill is great. It'll make New York City one step closer to being a world-class city when it comes to micromobility. Thank you.
What an angel, giving us back a minute. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Osindi Garcia, followed by Tyler Taba, and then Julie Chu.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing me to testify in support of Intro 258 and Intro 291. My name is Cindy Garcia. I'm a community organizer in East Harlem, a member of Community Board 11, as well as the Neighborhood Advisory Board in the Department of Youth and Community Development. I've been an advocate for the homeless and transient population since 2014. One of the largest issues that I came across during my outreach work was access to restroom facilities. Once COVID started, all the facilities closed that were typically accessible to individuals who were living in their streets. Community members exhausted nearly every resource to provide masks and sanitizers and other items to counter the lack of facilities. With urgency, I advocated in Community Board 11 in the Public Safety and Transportation Committee to relay the distressing conditions that lack of access to restroom facilities meant for an already vulnerable population in a pandemic. I believe this legislation could serve as a preventative measure that could impact the quality of life issues, as well as reducing budget restraints across OASIS-led facilities, local organizations, and committees. Collaborative efforts between the city, state, and federal could have a ripple effect on how we interact and support the homeless and transient population. I am grateful for this opportunity because, as everyone before me has mentioned, this is an equity issue. This is a human rights issue. So I'm here advocating for the 80,000 plus people that do not have access to these meetings and to our committees. And I beg you to please allow this bill to pass. For other members and individuals who are listening
Time
to this at
expired.
the moment, please fill out the 2022 Community Needs Assessment survey from the Department of Youth and Community Development. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next we'll hear from Tyler Taba, and Tyler will be followed by Julie Chu and Roy Smith.
Time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Tyler Taba. I'm the Senior Manager for Climate Policy at Waterfront Alliance, an alliance of more than 1,100 organizations, businesses, and individuals. We also convene the Rise to Resilience Coalition, which is a coalition of more than 100 organizations calling on government to make climate resilience an urgent policy priority. Healthy open spaces provide tremendous benefits to New Yorkers, and we support the legislation calling for a Greenway Master Plan. The New York City Comprehensive Waterfront Plan, released earlier this year, acknowledges the need for a 5-borough Greenway plan and specifically includes the goal of completing planned waterfront Greenway improvements that leverage the unique opportunities and community needs available along various stretches of waterfront. We're proud to have worked with DCP on this plan and could not agree more with the goal of a completed waterfront plan. We recommend that a Greenway Master Plan consider development of a uniform user experience between greenways, parks, sidewalks, bike paths, and ferry landings. Greenways are a catalyst for change, connecting communities, creating new recreational opportunities, fostering outdoor experiences that lead to better health outcomes, and implementing resilient infrastructure that address climate hazards. Greenway infrastructure is a critical part of climate resilience infrastructure that can also bring multiple benefits. Further, Greenway investments foster better connections for residents to existing parks and waterfronts, as well as new ferry landings, providing further access to all parks for more communities. Low-income communities and communities of color continue to lack public access to the waterfront, and these communities have seen the least development and investments in recent Greenway expansions. Waterfront Alliance studied a 1.5-mile stretch of waterfront along the northeast shore of Staten Island with limited waterfront access, poor roadway conditions for cycling and pedestrians, and repeat flood incidents. Local community members agreed there is a glaring gap between the new Stapleton waterfront and Fort Wadesworth, which, if activated, could provide connectivity, resilience, recreation, and economic development to local residents and the borough as a whole. We look forward to advancing Intro 291, to meet these critical needs for the city and waterfront communities. Thank you so much. And I don't know how I ended up getting pushed back, but it was probably my fault. So thanks for getting me in.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we'll hear from Julie Chu. Julie will be followed by Roy Smith, Matthew Clark, and Remy Schwartz.
Time starts now.
Hi, my name is Julie Chu. I serve on Manhattan Community Board 5, and I'm part of the public bathroom working group between 4 community boards in Manhattan. I helped to publish a report with the Urban Design Forum in 2019 that stated there are only 1,100 public bathrooms in New York City, with only 2 public bathrooms available 24/7. This is not enough for a city of 8.4 million people with annual tourists over 66 million. Our study found that there are only 680 comfort stations out of the 1,700 parks in New York City, so more than half of our parks do not have access to public bathrooms. We asked the Parks Department to address the parks that do not have comfort stations as part of this legislation. We also asked DOT to make transparent all the sites that have been considered for APTs to better understand why it has been so challenging to find viable sites for these units. A public bathroom is not a one-size-fits-all solution, and we want to make sure that the public bathrooms that are cited for the different zip codes work for each community and are safe and well-maintained. We asked the interagency working group to meet with local community boards and bids throughout the study. We also asked that bathrooms be sited in areas with high pedestrian traffic, following crime prevention through environmental design principles. We ask that they will be regularly maintained by the Parks Department or a local bid, preferably with full-time attendance. Manhattan Community Board 5 wholeheartedly supports the legislation to propose a public bathroom site for each zip code and applauds the City Council for addressing this need. Manhattan CB5 has also passed a resolution asking for more public bathrooms in the city, with at least one additional 24/7 public bathroom with full-time attendance in our district, easily identifiable signage for public bathrooms, and technology to help people locate all publicly accessible bathrooms in New York City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Roy Smith, followed by Matthew Clark and Remy Schwartz.
Time starts now.
We're having a difficult time hearing you.
Roy Smith, can you please turn off your mic and then maybe restart it? We cannot hear you.
We'll just ask if you can submit a written testimony. Thank you.
We can circle back and see if you get the audio figured out, but next we'll hear from Matt Clark. Matt.
Time starts now.
Thank you to Chair Brooks Powers and the committee for having me today. My name is Matthew Clark, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Design Trust for Public Space. Our organization has spent the past 27 years unlocking the potential of New York's public space. I'm testifying today to support public space in the three bills under consideration. However, my primary message to this committee and to the council at large is in regards to the context in which these programs can be successful. Over the past 2 years, we have worked with hundreds of organizations, from large bids to small place-based advocates, with thousands of individuals and with many of you on projects that reframe what public space means to New Yorkers. This ranges from neighborhood commons, which is with SBS to identify new ways to manage and support commercial corridors in public spaces that don't have bids, with Turnout in New York City, which is testing a new model of public space arts infrastructure that centers power in place, particularly BIPOC and historically marginalized communities, and with Alfresco NYC, which is working to imagine the long-term development of open restaurants in New York City. These efforts have made 2 points abundantly clear. One, we are meeting a generational moment to rethink how public space can serve every New Yorker. And two, that our government is not yet structured to take advantage of this opportunity. New York needs a centralized voice to address public space management with 3 critical capacities: being able to vision, plan, and coordinate our parks, streets, plazas, and corridors. 2, providing a clear and inclusive regulatory process such that non-governmental entities have centralized and simple procedures for permitting and licensing. And 3, directing existing and future resources like grants and maintenance in a coordinated and equitable way to small businesses, CBOs, and other public space managers. Design Trust recommends that the Interagency Public Space Working Group be strengthened to serve as a forum to design a long-term, more formal structure to address these capacities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Remy Schwartz. Remy.
Time starts now.
Looks like we may have lost Remy, so we can go back quickly to Roy Smith.
Time starts now.
Yeah, is this better?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm here to speak in support of 291. I have submitted written testimony. In the interest of time, I'll just summarize that. So retrofitting a modern greenway network into our existing car-oriented infrastructure is not easy, but it's made even more difficult because of interagency turf wars at the expense of getting things done. I'll mention two examples in the Bronx where I live. One is 177th Street near Starlight Park, which I believe several other speakers have mentioned earlier this afternoon. Plans to construct a green space with bicycle and pedestrian paths have been stalled there for over a decade. The allocated land is owned by New York State DOT. That's sitting behind a chain link fence, collecting junk cars and weeds, while the street remains one of the most dangerous locations for cyclists in the entire borough. Second project is, there's an e-scooter pilot project in the Bronx, which just in the past week has been expanded to include the area around Ferry Point Park ferry terminal, but the pilot excludes a route to the terminal itself because parks won't allow access into the park to the scooters, so they can't actually get to the ferry terminal. And the common theme here is that the New York City DOT, New York State DOT, parks, New York State DEC, and other agencies are all finger pointing instead of getting the job done. Additionally, there's over the last bunch of years, a range of micro-mobility options have appeared. There's a wide range of electric and hybrid electric human-powered devices. Some can go 20 miles an hour. Some are, such as the devices being tested by UPS now, are so wide as to obstruct the entire width of a typical bike lane. And of course, we all know that cargo bikes are the foundation of the delivery network supporting our restaurant industry. These devices are essential. They're alternatives to full-size motor vehicles, but they don't fit in. Yeah, I'm almost done. But they don't fit in with either vehicular traffic or the greenways designed for bicycles and pedestrians. We need a network which will safely support these not quite a bicycle, not quite a motor vehicle modes of transportation. 291 will mandate the various agencies to work together on these issues, and I strongly urge its passage. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that testimony, and thank you to all of today's participants in this hearing. I think it was tremendously helpful to hear from the administration firsthand their plans as it pertains to open spaces, the management and oversight and accountability of it, as well as the several bills that we had under consideration today. I thank the public for coming out in such large numbers to share their thoughts and to be able to weigh in on the conversation, which is critically important as we move to create greater access for communities, especially those that for many, many years have been under-invested in. So with that, I will officially close out today's hearing and wish everyone well. Thank you.
Ending webinar.